What's up guys? Welcome to What If I Reincarnated as Yamamoto Genryusai in Naruto and Saved the Uzumaki clan the movie. This part 1 to 7 complete series of my other series with the same name. Here is a summary. I am reincarnated in the world of Naruto at the height of the Uzumaki clan's impending doom, and due to the cliché and not so cliché trope, I awaken a system template of Yamamoto Shijikuni Genryusai, the captain of the infamous Kate 13, and one of the powerful characters in the Bleach verse. Can I pull a Madara and face a shinobi alliance of 3 major villages with such power? If you want to find out, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and help reach my goal of 100 subscribers at the end of the month. With that out of the way, let's dive right into it. The Uzumaki country was enveloped in a thick haze. Within the Uzumaki family's meeting room, the third elder suggested, we must relocate to a new location and live in secrecy. The first elder disagreed, leaving is not an option. They have surely considered our escape, and fleeing now would only hasten our demise. Let us wait for Konoha. They will surely provide us with support once they learn of our situation. The second elder chimed in happily, yes, you are right. Konoha is our ally. They will undoubtedly come to our aid. The fourth elder eagerly added, just wait until Konoha arrives. We will show Kurigaka, Iwagaka, and Kumogaka what the Uzumaki clan is truly capable of. He could already envision his fantasies becoming reality. The third elder furrowed his brow and responded, but what about the safety of our people? The longer we stay here, the more vulnerable we become. The first elder nodded in understanding. I know it's a difficult decision, but we must trust in our allies. Konoha has always been there for us in times of need. The second elder chimed in again. We must have faith in our village and our allies. They will not abandon us. The fourth elder's eyes glinted with excitement. Yes, and when they arrive, we will fight with all our might. We will not let our enemies trample over our homeland. The Uzumaki family patriarch, who also held the title of daimyo of the Uzumaki country, watched as the elders discussed their options. Unlike them, he was not naive and fully understood the workings of politics. He knew that the Uzumaki family did not have much to offer Konoha, and therefore, it was unlikely that Konoha would risk offending 3 major villages just to protect them. The patriarch understood that if the Hokage had been from the Senju family, there might have been some hope as they had promised to be eternal friends with the Uzumaki family. However, with Sarutobi Hiruzen as Hokage, who was obviously not from the Senju family, the patriarch's hopes were dwindling. He knew that they had to be realistic and face the situation at hand. The patriarch observed the conversation with a stoic expression. Finally, he spoke up, I understand your concerns, but we must be practical. We do not have much to offer Konoha, and it is unlikely that they will risk offending 3 major villages for our sake. The first elder looked taken aback, but surely, our long-standing alliance with Konoha - the patriarch interrupted, alliances can only go so far. We must face the reality of the situation. We need to focus on protecting our people and finding a solution that does not rely solely on Konoha's aid. The third elder nodded in agreement. He's right. We need to think of a plan that takes into account our own strengths and resources. The patriarch looked at them with a sense of urgency. We need to act fast. We cannot rely on others to solve our problems. We must find a solution ourselves. The fourth elder looked uncertain. But what can we do? We are surrounded by powerful enemies. The patriarch's expression softened. We may not have much, but we still have a strength, a determination, and our will to protect our people. We will find a way. At this moment, a messenger entered the meeting room. Patriarch, as per your orders, I went to Konoha to request assistance. I met with the Hokage of Konoha and made the request, but they said they would send support after high-level discussions within Konoha. On my way back, I encountered a team of Konoha ninjas who were stationed at our borders. When I inquired, they told me they had received orders to go to Sunagaka, reported the messenger. The meeting room fell silent upon hearing the messenger's words. How could they? Said the second elder with an ugly expression. Not only are they refusing to support us, but they have also removed their army from our borders, added the third elder. The second Hokage stationed that army on our borders to support us if needed. This is a clear abandonment of our alliance, said the first elder. The fourth elder asked the messenger if he had informed Mito of the situation. I met with her, but she told me that leaving Konoha may cause other villages to perceive Konoha as a threat, potentially disrupting the peace of the ninja world. As a strategic asset of Konoha, she cannot leave, replied the messenger. Upon hearing this, the faces of the elders turned ugly. They had not expected Mito, who was not just any member of the Uzumaki family, but also the princess of the Uzumaki country and elder sister of the patriarch, to refuse to take action. The second elder chimed in, we have been allies for generations, and they are breaking their word. This is unacceptable. The fourth elder turned to the messenger and asked, Did you tell them the urgency of the situation? Yes, I explained everything to the Hokage and requested immediate assistance, replied the messenger. The second elder voiced his concerns. Must we really accept the conditions put forth by Kurigaka, Iwagaka, and Kumogaka? The first elder responded firmly, absolutely not. We cannot give away our sealing technique or our children. Our Uzumaki family is known for a sealing technique, and if we give it away, what value will our clan have in this ninja world? And what of our children's future? We cannot allow them to be treated as bargaining chips. The fourth elder agreed. The thought of how our children might be treated is terrifying. We cannot accept these conditions. The patriarch interjected. We need not discuss this matter any further. As for the issue with Konoha, we must keep it under wraps to avoid causing panic. He then turned to the messenger and thanked him for his report, assuring him that they would take appropriate action. As the messenger left, the patriarch rose from his seat and announced, I will seek counsel from my uncle. Perhaps he can offer some advice. With that, he left the meeting room, leaving the elders to continue their discussion and devise a plan to protect their clan and their values. A century has passed since I arrived in this world through transmigration. Initially, my excitement was akin to any anime fans, if they could visit their favorite anime world. Specifically, I landed in the Naruto universe. However, my joy was short-lived upon discovering that I was born during the bleak Warring States period. Despite this, I believed I could become a powerful ninja with the aid of a cheat, only to realize I had none. Nevertheless, I was born with the purest Uzumaki blood in my family, which made me a genius and allowed me to live up to my potential. At the age of 15, I discovered that the Uchiha patriarch had a son named Uchiha Tajima, who was father of the dance king Uchiha Madara. Similarly, the Senju patriarch had a son named Bitsuma Senju, who was the father of the ninja god, Senju Hashirama. I lived my life to the fullest, pursuing my passions and even marrying and having a son. However, at the age of 40, I received devastating news of my son's death. He was merely 18 years old, killed by a clan led by a single cage-level powerhouse. Overcome by fury, I destroyed the clan in my wrath. As I excelled in fire ninjutsu and employed it to annihilate the clan, I was bestowed with the title of Fire God by the world. Madara and Hashirama were born around the same time. Following my son's death, my wife was deeply affected and passed away within 5 years. In response, I retreated from the ninja world and lived in seclusion. My younger brother, who was of similar age to Tajima and Bitsuma, was appointed as the patriarch, as I had no desire to take on the role. His son is the current patriarch, and his eldest daughter, Uzumaki Mito, became the wife of Senju Hashirama. I gave up everything and lived like an ordinary old man who waited for his last days. I relinquished everything and lived out my remaining years as an ordinary old man, waiting for my time to come. However, when Konoha was formally established, I heard a sound and was astonished to find a panel before my eyes, displaying a timer indicating 28 years to come. Therefore, from that day forward, I refrained from participating in any clan-related activities, as I anticipated the day to arrive. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi was remembering his past. At this moment he saw the timer on the panel, 003. 0020010 o'clock ding. Congratulations on your 100th birthday. Ike Brace ding. Congratulations on getting template of the captain of the 1st division of the Gate 13 Shijukuni Yamamoto Genryusai. Ike Brace ding. Congratulations on getting absolute fire control. Ike Brace ding. Congratulations on getting 30% template progress for the first time. Ike Brace ding. Congratulations on increasing your lifespan by 100 years. Right brace. Upon hearing a series of ding ding, Uzumaki Kagetsuchi's heart was filled with shock and disbelief. He could feel a strange energy coursing through his veins, invigorating him like never before. Even mundane tasks, such as walking, now seemed effortless. His eyes widened in surprise as he surveyed the rewards that lay before him. But what really took his breath away was the template he had received. It was none other than Captain Yamamoto's, one of the oldest and most powerful Shinigami to have ever existed. As he gazed at the template in awe, he felt his old, worn-out crutch begin to transform. With a flick of his wrist, he could now transform it into the mighty Zanpakuto known as Ryoujin Jaka, one of the most powerful weapons in all of the Soul Society. The sheer power that coursed through his body was almost overwhelming. System generate my panel. Quote said Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. Ding. Generating panel. Name. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi template. Yamamoto GENRYKSAI 30% strength. Cage level props. Ryoujin Jaka ability. Fire control system. How can I improve my template progress? Quote asked Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. Ding. Host can meditate on his Zanpakuto to increase the template progress. Quote system replied. Reasonable. Quote thought Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. The head of the family arrived at a courtyard, which appeared aged and situated in a corner of the Uzumaki family's property, and proceeded to knock on the door. Knock knock. Come in, came a voice from inside. Upon entering, the patriarch beheld an elderly man seated in a chair, with his eyes shut and clutching a crutch with both hands. Despite his age, the man exuded a remarkable grandeur while sitting there. This old man is none other than Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. You know I don't like to be disturbed, boy. Has something happened in the family? Asked Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. I am sorry for disturbing you, uncle, but I want to seek advice from you as our family is facing a huge crisis, said the patriarch of Uzumaki. What crisis you are talking about that even you, a dignified patriarch of Uzumaki family, can't solve, that you have to ask an old man such as me for advice, said Kagetsuchi. In an infuriated and helpless tone, the Uzumaki family patriarch declared, Uncle Owagaka, Kurigaka, and Kumogaka are demanding that we surrender our family's sealing techniques and children, otherwise, they will launch an attack on our Uzumaki country and massacre everyone. Who? What gives them the confidence that they could destroy our family? Asked Uzumaki Kagetsuchi with keen interest. Living for 100 years had caused his memories of the events in Naruto to become hazy, and he only recalled a few key moments, not the entire story. The reasons are primarily twofold. Firstly, due to the scarcity of geniuses in the Uzumaki family, I am the only cage-level powerhouse, and even I have begun to feel the effects of aging, which has somewhat diminished my strength. Secondly, Konoha has abandoned us, and not followed the alliance treaty between the Uzumaki family and Konoha, explained the patriarch, his tone heavy with concern. The lack of talented geniuses is indeed a problem. What about Mito? Has she come to offer support? Inquired Kagetsuchi. If my memory serves me correctly, after the passing of Hashirama and Tobirama, she should be the most senior person in Konoha right now. Furthermore, she should be the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, he added. I dispatched a messenger to request her and Konoha's assistance, but she refused, citing that being the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails makes her a strategic asset to Konoha, and she cannot leave the village, replied the patriarch. If she genuinely desired to offer her support, she could have exerted pressure on the Hokage, and he would never dare to defy her, remarked Kagetsuchi. The current Hokage is Sarutobi Hiruzen, a member of the Sarutobi family. If she were to exert excessive pressure on him, it could cause instability in the village, which she would not want to see, stated the patriarch, who was attempting to defend his older sister. No, as the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, she must be the most powerful person in Konoha, and no one would dare to defy her. However, if I'm not mistaken, she shares the same concerns as the Hokage regarding the village's well-being. If she or Konoha supports us, they would offend 3 major villages simultaneously, and if a war breaks out, Konoha would suffer significant losses, which neither she nor the Hokage desires to see, explained Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. Although the patriarch was aware that his uncle's analysis was nearly accurate, he was reluctant to accept it. The Uzumaki patriarch spoke in a sorrowful tone, expressing his uncertainty. Uncle, I find myself in a dilemma. I am unsure whether to send some of our seedlings outside the borders of Uzumaki country, or to fight until the bitter end. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi expressed a strong sense of confidence as he responded to the statement made earlier. Your words seem to imply that a family is on the verge of destruction, but let me remind you that I am still alive and well. As long as I exist, the Uzumaki family will continue to flourish and thrive. You can rest assured that nothing will happen to us as long as I am here to protect and lead our clan. As the Uzumaki patriarch spoke hesitantly, Uncle, but you are clearly Dash. His words were abruptly cut off by Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, who interrupted with a booming voice. At that very moment, a tremendous amount of chakra combined with an overwhelming spiritual pressure surged out from his body, leaving the patriarch breathless and struggling to keep his composure. With a look of horror, the patriarch stared at his uncle, unable to fathom the sheer magnitude of the power that was being unleashed by an old man who was well over a century old and could pass away at any moment. The patriarch was left in awe, realizing that age was clearly just a number for the Uzumaki clan, and their powers only grew stronger with time. The Uzumaki patriarch listened intently as Uzumaki Kagetsuchi responded to his dilemma, his voice oozing with confidence. My dear nephew, do not be afraid. The Uzumaki family has survived countless battles, and we will continue to stand strong. We have faced worse threats than this and emerged victorious. The patriarch tried to interject, but uncle, the situation we face. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi cut him off, his voice booming. I know the situation, but let me tell you this. I am not just some old man waiting for death. I am still here, with years of experience and a powerful chakra within me. As long as I am alive, the Uzumaki clan will not falter. The chakra emanating from Kagetsuchi's body was almost too much for the patriarch to handle, leaving him breathless and overwhelmed. He couldn't believe that an elderly man could possess such an immense amount of power. The patriarch couldn't help but admire his uncle's unwavering strength and determination. With a newfound sense of hope, the patriarch bowed to his uncle and said, "Thank you for your guidance, uncle. I will follow your lead and do everything in my power to protect our clan. Following their conversation, the patriarch left the courtyard and headed towards the meeting room to discuss their next steps. After the patriarch left, Kagetsuchi remained in the courtyard, deep in meditation, as he focused on honing his Raiwagen Jaka and becoming more familiar with his newfound power. At that moment, within the confines of the Uzumaki family meeting room, the elders sat in a state of profound despair. They had been racking their brains trying to come up with a plan to save their beloved clan from the looming crisis. But so far, all their efforts had been in vain. The room was filled with a tense atmosphere of frustration and helplessness as the elders exchanged worried glances, unsure of what their next move should be. As he entered the meeting room, the Uzumaki patriarch took in the despondent expressions on the faces of the elders and felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. He shook his head in dismay before making his way to his seat and settling in with a heavy sigh. The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension and anxiety as the elders exchanged worried glances and whispered amongst themselves. The patriarch sat in silence for a few moments, taking in the somber mood of the room before finally speaking up. I know that things look grim right now, but we cannot afford to give up hope. We must continue to work together and come up with a plan to save our family from this crisis. The decision has been made after consulting with my uncle. We have only one option to fight. Therefore, I order all of you to prepare a defensive enchantment that will cover the entire Uzumaki village. Make sure to supplement it with chakra continuously, announced the patriarch. The second elder attempted to speak up, but was interrupted by the patriarch's stern tone. Follow my orders without questioning them, he declared. The other elders, recognizing the patriarch's authority and sense of urgency, remained silent. With that, the patriarch left the meeting room to oversee the preparations for the upcoming battle. Over the course of the next 2 days, the elders worked tirelessly to fulfill the Uzumaki patriarch's orders. With great effort, they were able to arrange for a powerful enchantment barrier that spanned across the entire Uzumaki village. The barrier enclosed every member of the Uzumaki clan within its protective shield, providing them with a sense of safety and security against the dangers that lurked outside. The elders ensured that the barrier was reinforced with a steady supply of chakra, which would help to keep it strong and impenetrable for as long as possible. At the same time, on the nearest island located near the Uzumaki country, inside a camp sat jonins from 3 major villages, and their commanders were sitting side by side. Although unanimously Konoha isn't going to interfere, but these 3 villages also have to give face to Konoha by not sending any cage-level powerhouse, or else Konoha may also participate in this. Secondly, no leader of the village will be foolish enough to enter other countries' territories. The scouts I sent to Uzumaki country have reported back. According to them, the Uzumaki family has raised an enchantment barrier around their village. This is a clear indication that they have no interest in accepting our offer, spoke Raiden, the commander of Kumogaka. I have been saying from the very beginning that we should attack immediately. Why waste time? See, they didn't even listen to us, and now we have wasted precious time. Kai, the leader of Kurigaka and also the strongest of the 7 swordsmen, spoke up. With the Uzumaki family's clear rejection of our offer, we have no choice but to initiate an attack, declared Daichi, the leader of Iwagaka. Very well. All ninjas are to be informed to prepare for tomorrow morning's march towards Uzumaki country, declared Raiden, signaling the end of the meeting. After hearing Raiden's decision, everyone present in the meeting nodded in agreement and left to inform their respective ninjas to prepare for the upcoming attack on the Uzumaki country. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden glow across the land, each of the skilled ninjas prepared themselves for the impending attack. With unwavering determination, they made their way onto the ship, their hearts beating with anticipation as they set course towards the Uzumaki country, their minds already strategizing the best plan of action for the battle that awaited them. At the same time, inside the meeting room of the Uzumaki family, Patriarch, the ninja from 3 major villages have started moving, and they must be coming to attack us, said the second elder in panic. Quiet, even if an elder like yourself starts panicking, then what will happen to the ordinary ninja of our family? Reprimanded the patriarch. Even if we don't panic, but we have to formulate a plan or something to avoid our extermination, said the third elder, even though other 2 elders didn't speak. But they also looked to Patriarch for a solution. Okay, don't look at me like that. Uncle said that he will fight himself in this battle, so we can rest assured, explained the Patriarch. Hearing the words of the Patriarch, every elder present in the meeting room were stunned. They didn't know what to say for a second. The first elder cleared his throat before voicing his concerns, careful not to come off as disrespectful. I don't mean to be insensitive, but it's worth considering that your uncle's age may be well over a century, if not more. We cannot predict when he may pass away, and it's a risk to entrust him with fighting alongside us, while also expecting him to guarantee our safety. It's a lot to ask, he explained, his tone measured and thoughtful. Is it? A voice of great majesty filled the room, causing all heads to turn. At that moment, an old man with long, flowing white hair and a matching beard entered the space, supported by his trusty crutch. As soon as the Patriarch caught sight of the venerable figure, He quickly vacated his seat and stood up in deference. The old man made his way to the now vacant seat and settled onto it, commanding the attention of all those present. Seeing such a respectful act of the patriarch, every elder also stood up and bowed towards the old man. I understand your concerns, First Elder, but there is no need to explain. I am well aware of my physical condition, Kagetsuchi interjected, cutting off the First Elder mid-sentence. If I say that I am able to fight, then I am able to fight. There is no reason to question my judgment, he declared, his voice strong and unwavering. Excuse me, Elder, but have you considered that if we were to flee towards Konoha, they may come to our aid as our allies? The third elder suggested, his tone measured and thoughtful. Shem PH, if an ally has abandoned you once, then they can do so again. Let me ask you this. How do you plan to flee with the entire Uzumaki family, including the non-ninja members and children? Are you willing to let them die while you run away on your own? Kagetsuchi questioned, his tone stern and rebuking. Upon hearing this, the elders remained silent, as it appeared that what Kagetsuchi had said was indeed true. Alright, let's stop discussing irrelevant matters. Kagetsuchi inquired about the presence of Chunins and higher-ranked individuals in the Uzumaki family. In response to Kagetsuchi's question, the patriarch replied, there are 40 Jonins and 250 Chunins in our clan, uncle. Very well. Leave 10 Jonins and 50 Chunins to guard the clan, while the remaining ninjas prepare an enchantment barrier around me and the army for the upcoming fight. We cannot allow even a single intruder to escape. As for the monitoring ninjas, I will instruct them further, commanded Kagetsuchi. Uncle, you cannot confront the armies of 3 major villages alone. I cannot allow it, protested the patriarch. I am not asking you, but telling you. You will remain here with the family and protect them, stated Kagetsuchi in an unwavering tone. I don't mean any disrespect, but look at yourself. At your age, even walking can be considered a luxury. And now you're telling us that you'll fight against the alliance of 3 major villages alone. Are you kidding us? Asked the fourth elder with a slightly angry tone. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi glanced at everyone in the meeting room except for the patriarch. He noticed that all 4 elders shared the same expression, indicating that they agreed with the fourth elder. Know your place. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi spoke with such intensity that a huge amount of chakra and spiritual pressure was released from his body, forcing the elders to bow their heads to the ground. Is it just my imagination, or is the pressure emanating from Uncle even stronger than before? Wondered the patriarch to himself. If Kagetsuchi had known what his nephew was thinking, he wouldn't have been surprised. In the past 3 days, he had made significant progress, and had become fully acquainted with his newfound power. Template, Yamamoto Genryusai, 30.3%. Listen to me carefully, patriarch, said Kagetsuchi, his voice low and commanding. I understand your concern, but I have no intention of abandoning my family. We must face this challenge head on, and I will lead the charge. As for the rest of you, I expect you to follow my lead and do everything in your power to protect our clan. The elders nodded in agreement, their heads still bowed. Good. Now, let's focus on the task at hand. We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for battle, continued Kagetsuchi. Patriarch, I want you to oversee the preparation of the enchantment barrier. Fourth elder, I need you to coordinate with the monitoring ninjas, and keep me informed of any enemy movements. First and second elders, I want you to help me strategize our attack plan. The room fell silent as everyone processed Kagetsuchi's orders. After a moment, the patriarch spoke up. Understood, uncle. We will do everything in our power to protect our family and our village. Good, said Kagetsuchi, a fierce determination in his eyes. Now let's get to work. We have a battle to win. Upon receiving instructions from Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, everyone began carrying out their assigned tasks as directed by him. Kagetsuchi proceeded towards the shoreline, where the 3 major villages were about to disembark. At that moment, a young girl of approximately 6 years old, who was carrying a box, accidentally collided with him and fell to the ground. Ow, 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 exclaimed the young girl as she got back up, gently rubbing her butt to soothe the discomfort caused by the fall. When she looked up, she noticed an elderly man nearby and asked, Grandpa, are you alright? You didn't get hurt, did you? Without a doubt, I am perfectly fine. I highly doubt that a petite and delicate young girl like yourself could inflict any harm upon my person, replied Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, his voice laced with a sense of reassurance and kindness as a warm smile spread across his face, reflecting his amiable demeanor. HMPH. I am not a little girl anymore. Can't you see that I'm carrying a large box? Retorted the girl, her expression a mixture of a pout and cuteness, as she tried to convey her point of view to Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi chuckled heartily and said, Haha, if you're carrying such a massive box that it obscures your vision, then you're still a little one in my eyes. His jovial tone conveyed a sense of playful teasing, and he flashed a warm smile at the young girl. The young girl's face reddened with embarrassment, and she remained silent, choosing not to respond, and instead let out an indignant snort in response to Uzumaki Kagutsuchi's playful comment. "May I ask what your name is, little girl?" inquired Kagutsuchi politely, showing a genuine interest in getting to know the young girl. With a friendly smile on her face, the girl replied, "My name is Uzumaki Kushina." As Uzumaki Kushina introduced herself, Kagutsuchi's heart skipped a beat as he realized that she was, in fact, Naruto's mother. He couldn't help but wonder if fate would play out the same way it did in his previous experiences. The thought raced through his mind as he gazed upon the young girl before him. "May I ask what it is that you are carrying in such a large box?" inquired Kagutsuchi, his interest piqued by the sheer size of the container that Uzumaki Kushina was carrying. "Oh no, I almost forgot. There are some essential supplies and food items in the box that I need to distribute to the people. I should get going now," exclaimed Kushina in a hurried tone as she picked up the box and began to run off to her destination. As he watched Kushina run off with the box, Uzumaki Kagutsuchi couldn't help but smile, calling out to her with a friendly reminder, "Be careful on your way, and make sure not to fall again." Following that brief incident, Kagutsuchi proceeded with his voyage toward the shore. However, as soon as he departed from the spellbinding aura that encircled the village, he abruptly came to a halt. Kagutsuchi inquired, "System, if I engage in combat while wearing my current attire, wouldn't it be susceptible to burning? And if I employ Ryujin Jaka, wouldn't the risk be even greater?" Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a Shinigami outfit resembling that of Captain Yamamoto's. "Ike brace," Kagutsuchi commanded, "replace it with my current attire." In accordance with Kagutsuchi's command, a series of swift and seamless alterations were set into motion, culminating in the transformation of his original garb into the distinctive uniform of a Shinigami, complete with all the accompanying details and nuances of Captain Yamamoto's signature style. He persevered on his voyage until he was a considerable distance of 3 miles away from the shore. Kagutsuchi couldn't help but let out a small chuckle as he pondered the staggering numbers of their opposition. "If I'm not mistaken," he mused to himself, "there must be close to 4,500 highly skilled ninjas assembled here, with roughly 1,500 representing each of the 3 major villages. The team formation of each village seems to consist of 30 skilled jonin, 500 skilled chunin, and the remaining force composed primarily of genin. It's truly amusing to think of the reactions that the people of these villages would have upon learning that their entire contingent, dispatched with the sole purpose of eliminating the Uzumaki, had themselves been wiped out." He employed the mind's eye of the Kagura, utilizing his heightened sensory perception to detect the presence of the numerous ninja, as he patiently bid his time with his eyes tightly shut. Swish! At that moment, the 4th elder, a wise-looking gentleman of around 50 years of age, approached Kagutsuchi and addressed him directly. "Master Kagutsuchi, the team responsible for enchantment is fully prepared to commence their task at a moment's notice. All that is required is your command to initiate the process." Indeed, Kagutsuchi pondered for a moment before issuing his command. "When the full force of the ninja from the 3 major villages sets foot upon our Uzumaki land, and I begin to engage them in combat, that will be the precise moment for you to activate the enchantment, ensnaring them all within its grasp." With a simple acknowledgement, the 4th elder departed from Kagutsuchi's presence. Having relayed the message to Kagutsuchi, the 4th elder returned to the gathering of elders and informed them of his interaction with the master. "I have duly informed Master Kagutsuchi of our readiness to activate the enchantment." The 2nd elder inquired, his tone betraying a hint of uncertainty. "Do you truly believe that he is capable of facing off against 4,500 highly trained ninjas by himself?" The 1st elder responded, urging his colleagues to have faith in their leader. "We cannot afford to entertain any doubts at this juncture. Now is the time for us to place our complete trust in him." With a collective sigh, the rest of the elders resigned themselves to the situation, recognizing that they had done all they could, and the rest was simply a matter of fate. After an extensive period of anticipation, lasting nearly an hour, the ships bearing skilled ninjas hailing from 3 significant villages finally reached the shores of the Uzumaki country. Raiden, the esteemed commander of Kumogaku and appointed leader of the Alliance army, spoke with a firm yet composed tone, instructing his troops to disembark from the ship in an orderly fashion and maintain their formation as they set foot on the shore. It was decided that a sole leader would be responsible for the operation, as multiple leaders could cause confusion and disarray within the army. In an impressively efficient manner, the highly trained ninjas managed to assume their designated positions and align themselves according to the formation specified by their respected superiors within a brief time frame of just 15 minutes. Raiden, with an authoritative tone, issued a crucial directive to the sensory ninjas, instructing them to carry out a meticulous search to identify any possible ambushes that the enemy may have set up in order to mitigate any potential risks and ensure the safety of the troops. Upon receiving the order, the sensory ninja promptly proceeded to execute the search, However, their findings left them astounded. "Commander, I am unable to sense anything. It seems as though my senses are being impeded by some sort of obstruction," reported the sensory ninja to Raiden. "TCH, they must have employed a sealing technique to obstruct the senses of our ninjas," speculated Daichi, voicing his thoughts on the matter. In a strategic move to neutralize any potential threats, Raiden promptly issued an order for the formation of 2 teams to move forward and conduct a meticulous search, with the objective of identifying and disarming any possible ambushes or traps that may have been set up by the enemy. Upon receiving the commander's directive, 2 teams immediately proceeded to carry out the assigned task. Taking every precaution, they advanced slowly and carefully, their senses on high alert, scouring the area for any potential traps or ambushes. Despite their diligent efforts, they came up empty-handed and were left bewildered by the lack of any signs of danger. As they pressed on, scanning their surroundings, an unexpected sight caught their attention. An aged man, standing tall and solitary in the middle of an open field, suddenly appeared before them. The team captain shouted at the elderly man, "Who the hell are you, old man?" With his eyes firmly shut, Kagetsuchi's tone was laced with contempt as he cast aside the person standing before him. "You dare address me, yet you are not the leader of this army. Your worthiness to engage with me is non-existent, so I suggest you scurry along and summon your superior." His words were brimming with disdain, leaving no room for any further discussion or negotiation. The team captain's countenance contorted into a visage of rage upon hearing the contemptuous tone of the elderly man. "Regardless, our objective here is to obliterate the Uzumaki family. So even if I were to kill you, no one would care, and I would not be held accountable," the captain spat out with venom in his voice. With a sudden burst of aggression, he unsheathed his sword and lunged at Kagetsuchi. The tip of his blade was mere centimeters from the old man, when a tremendous force struck him, rendering him motionless. Kagetsuchi balled his fist and delivered a powerful blow to the captain's face, causing it to explode in a gruesome display of violence. The entire sequence of events occurred within a matter of moments, leaving those who witnessed it stunned and unable to react. In just a few brief moments, the team had lost one of their elite jonin, without even having the opportunity to fight back. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi spoke with an indifferent tone, presenting 2 options. Either the individual faces death by Kagetsuchi's hand, or they can leave and contact their leader. Realizing they were no match for the elderly man, the remaining people made the decision to retreat and report their encounter to their commander. One of the team members reported to the commander, "There are no traps or ambushes ahead, but we've encountered an elderly man who killed an elite jonin with a single strike." Raiden's eyebrows raised in surprise at this news, prompting him to lead the entire army to the location. They arrived at an open space and stopped at a distance of 50 meters away from the old man. As the army came to a halt, Raiden's eyes scanned the surrounding terrain, searching for any signs of danger. The old man stood in the center of the open area, seemingly unfazed by the presence of the approaching army. Despite the army's overwhelming numbers, the old man exuded an aura of unwavering confidence and strength. Raiden turned to his team and spoke in a hushed tone, "Be on guard. This man is clearly no ordinary opponent. We must proceed with caution." The team nodded in agreement, their eyes fixed on the old man as they prepared for the worst. As the army arrived at the location, Kagetsuchi turned toward them and asked, "Who among you is the leader?" Raiden stepped forward, positioning himself in front of the others. "I am Raiden, the commander of the alliance between 3 major villages," he announced. He then fixed his gaze on Kagetsuchi and inquired, "And may I ask who you are?" Uzumaki Kagetsuchi stared at Raiden, his eyes piercing through him as he spoke with conviction. "I am Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, and in this country of the Uzumaki, my words hold supreme power. None shall defy them." His words hung in the air, a heavy silence settling over the area as both parties stood at a standstill. Raiden inquired, "Have you and your Uzumaki family reached a decision on whether you are willing to meet our demands?" With a cold tone, Uzumaki Kagetsuchi stated, "Understand your position, maggot. You and your comrades are nothing more than mere bugs to me, and I can squash you at any time I wish. Speaking to me is something you can only boast about after your demise." Raiden's voice carried a tone of anger as he spoke, "Old man, I urge you not to go too far. It would be wise for you to gather all the ninjas from your Uzumaki family and retire to the safety of your coffin, where you truly belong." His words were sharp and carried a sense of warning, a clear indication that he was not to be trifled with. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi responded in a monotone voice, "Haven't you heard? When it comes to eradicating bugs like you, I alone am more than enough." "Is that so?" Raiden retorted, a hint of challenge in his voice. "Then allow me to demonstrate what happens when thousands of bugs swarm and sting their target." With those words, he swiftly commanded his team to launch a volley of shurikens and kunes at Kagetsuchi. Upon receiving orders from their commander, the ninjas immediately proceeded to hurl a barrage of shurikens and kunes at their target. A vast multitude of kunai and shuriken were launched in the direction of Kagetsuchi's location, hurtling through the air with great speed and precision. "Fire dome!" Kagetsuchi swiftly waved his hand and summoned a fiery dome, which enveloped him and deflected all the incoming kunai and shuriken. As soon as they made contact with the dome, They melted instantaneously and clattered to the ground, rendered useless. Upon witnessing this impressive display, the entire ninja army was left in a state of momentary shock and sluggishness, their attack having been effortlessly nullified. Once the rain of kunai and shuriken ceased, Kagetsuchi spoke in a tone of indifference. "Now it's my turn," Kagetsuchi declared, his voice filled with a sense of calm confidence. After proclaiming, "It's my turn now," he strode confidently towards the army, casually strolling past the flowing molten iron, as if it were nothing more than a patch of grass. As he strode confidently toward the opposing army, he began to increase his spiritual pressure. With each step he took, the intensity of his energy grew until it enveloped the entire force. The weaker genin and chunin were the first to feel the effects, as they suddenly found themselves struggling to stand under the weight of the elderly man's presence. To them, he seemed to have grown to the size of a mountain, his sheer power crushing them like mere blades of grass. Despite their training and experience, the majority of the genin were forced down to their knees under the immense pressure. And even more than half of the chunin were unable to resist the force, and were forced down as well. The elite chunin were able to maintain their stance, but even they found themselves struggling against the sheer force of the man's energy. Their movements were severely impeded, and they found themselves unable to engage in combat due to the intensity of the pressure. Only the most experienced warriors, the jonin and above, possessed the fortitude to withstand the pressure. Though even they found themselves struggling with the effects of the energy, it was clear that they were the only ones capable of engaging in combat against this formidable foe. The elderly man had demonstrated his immense power, and it was clear that he would not be taken lightly. As they beheld this scene, the leaders of the three major villages were left utterly astounded. They could scarcely believe that a seemingly frail elderly man had managed to defeat nearly 98% of the opposing army, with nothing more than his sheer pressure. At that moment, Kai's voice shattered the silence. "Look upwards," he cried, and everyone turned their gaze skyward. But what they saw there filled them with a deep and abiding sense of horror. A strange and otherworldly enchantment, glowing with a light golden hue, had enveloped them and their entire army. The words of the jonin rang out across the battlefield, his voice heavy with disbelief and fear. "I can't believe it," he exclaimed. "He actually wants to trap us all." The other ninjas were equally stunned by this revelation. Amidst the gasps, Kagetsuchi paid little heed, holding his crutch horizontal to his body. With a serene calmness, he spoke the words, "Ryujin Jaka," and at that very moment, the crutch was transformed into a stunning katana, its hilt adorned with a regal shade of purple. "Stay calm, everyone. He's just one person. We can surely win this." Raiden's words of reassurance filled his comrades with a renewed sense of courage and determination. Emboldened, he charged forward toward Kagetsuchi, his sword in hand and a fierce determination in his heart. As he ran, he was engulfed in a crackling aura of lightning, powered by the signature ninjutsu of Kumogaka, the lightning release armor technique. With this powerful technique enhancing his speed and strength, Raiden surged forward toward his opponent, ready to strike. The surrounding air crackled with energy as he closed the distance between himself and Kagetsuchi, his eyes fixed firmly on his target. With the lightning release armor technique at his disposal, he was confident that he could emerge victorious in this battle. "Shumpo!" Kagetsuchi cried out, utilizing the technique to instantly appear right in front of Raiden. He swiftly attacked with his Ryujin Jaka, catching Raiden off guard. However, being a quasi-shadow level powerhouse, Raiden quickly regained his composure and attempted to parry Kagetsuchi's attack. To his shock and horror, Raiden discovered that the old man possessed incredible physical strength, which sent him staggering backward with a step. Even worse, Raiden realized that his sword had sustained multiple cracks from the force of the impact. Clearly, Kagetsuchi was not to be underestimated, and Raiden knew that he would need to be at his best if he hoped to emerge victorious in this battle. Kagetsuchi pressed on with his attack, unleashing a powerful fire slash, despite the fact that his Ryujin Jaka was not yet in its Shikai form. Even without the weapon's full power at his disposal, the heat emanating from the blade was intense enough to be taken seriously. Once again, Raiden attempted to parry Kagetsuchi's attack with his sword. However, this time was different. With a swift and precise strike, Ryujin Jaka sliced right through Raiden's sword, separating Raiden's body. Before Raiden's severed body could even hit the ground, it was engulfed in a massive wave of fire, leaving nothing but ash in its wake. As the flames subsided, the melted remains of Raiden's sword lay on the ground, a testament to the overwhelming power of Kagetsuchi's Ryujin Jaka. Anyone who witnessed the scene would be stunned by the sight of the sword, which had been melted in half at the point where it was cut. It was clear that Kagetsuchi was a force to be reckoned with, and that any who stood in his path would meet a fiery end. The entire sequence of events had transpired in an instant, leaving those who had witnessed it stunned and unable to react. The speed and power of Kagetsuchi's attack had been overwhelming, and the devastating effect it had on Raiden had left everyone in shock. Kagetsuchi aimed Ryujin Jaka at the remaining jonins, conjuring a massive fireball that measured about 5 meters in size. However, the fireball quickly shrank to the size of a football before Kagetsuchi hurled it toward them. Kai warned the jonins present to scatter and avoid the deadly fireball, which they did without hesitation. They were not concerned with the fate of the Chunins, who were unable to defend themselves and were left behind to fend for themselves. The fireball traveled approximately 60 to 70 meters before crashing to the ground, causing a thunderous explosion. Boom. Boom. After a huge explosion, everything in a radius of 30 meters fireballs as the center was destroyed. In this destruction, almost 40% of the army was annihilated, and the aftermath of the explosion uprooted the trees, and the remaining Genins and Chunins were thrown away like rag dolls. Kai, the leader of Kurigaka, expressed his surprise. From where did this old monster emerge? This attack is comparable to that of a tailed beast bomb. If I had even an inkling that an old, yet powerful man like him was still in existence, I would have never dared to set foot in the Uzumaki country even if I had 1,000 guts, lamented Daichi, the esteemed leader of Iwagaka. Despite the explosion, Kagetsuchi remained indifferent and continued his deadly rampage. He materialized before a Jonin and killed them in a single swift strike. Then, he utilized Shumpo to move to another Jonin and repeated the same ruthless process. With each appearance, someone was sure to meet their demise. Kagetsuchi's movements were so rapid that it seemed as if he was manipulating space with ninjutsu. The terror-stricken Jonin continued to flee in a desperate attempt to escape from Kagetsuchi's deadly wrath. "We cannot confront this beast. He is more powerful than anything we have ever encountered," said one of the Jonin as they ran. Kagetsuchi was ruthless and showed no mercy. He swiftly materialized in front of a Jonin, took their life with a single deadly blow, and disappeared in a blur of motion. The other Jonin watched in horror as their comrade fell to the ground, lifeless. As the massacre continued, panic and chaos spread like wildfire. Everywhere Kagetsuchi appeared, people ran in fear for their lives. His movements were so fast that it was as if he was manipulating space and time to move from one place to another, taking the lives of anyone in his path. It was a scene of unimaginable horror, and the people were powerless to stop it. Observing that many Genins and Chunins had managed to escape from his spiritual pressure due to the explosion, Kagetsuchi quickly decided to decrease their numbers. He gripped his mighty Raiwijin Jaka, and, with a swift horizontal slash, unleashed a devastating shockwave of sword pressure. The arc of fire created by the sword swing traveled in the direction of the fleeing ninjas. The sword pressure was so potent that it cut through the ninjas like a hot knife through butter, and engulfed them in flames. Even those who attempted to evade the attack by lying down were burned by the fire that covered the sword pressure. The Uzumaki ninjas, who were maintaining the enchantment, also watched in horror as the sword pressure approached. As the attack neared the enchantment, the sword pressure vanished seemingly of its own accord. Witnessing the scene, everyone was speechless, including the Uzumaki ninjas who had created the barrier. Tragically, under the devastating sword pressure, nearly half of the remaining ninjas were killed, leaving behind a trail of destruction and death. "Listen, my fellow ninjas. Do not cower in fear and run. Stand your ground and fight with all your might. Kagetsuchi has cast a powerful enchantment that covers even the underground, making it impossible to escape. He may have depleted much of his chakra while using such significant moves, so we must attack him with all our strength," advised Daichi, the leader of Iwagaka. Everyone trusted Daichi's expertise in earth ninjutsu, and as he was the leader, they stopped running and rallied together to fight Kagetsuchi. "I must express my gratitude to you. If you hadn't gathered all of them here, I would have had to go around searching for them, which would have been quite a hassle for an old man like me," Kagetsuchi said, his face bearing a cold smile. Kagetsuchi materialized beside Daichi using his Shumpo technique and sliced him in half. However, to Kagetsuchi's shock, Daichi's body transformed into rocks. "Die, old man," Kai declared, appearing behind Kagetsuchi with his broadsword, attempting to strike him down in a single blow. But Kagetsuchi caught the sword with his bare hands, melting it with his heat. Kai was terrified, realizing that he could not escape Kagetsuchi's grasp, and before he could react, he was consumed by flames. Kai was a member of the Hazuki clan, and he believed that he could easily slip away from the flames, but to his dismay, he found himself unable to escape the fire, and perished unwillingly. Daichi emerged from the ground using the earth release, hiding like a mole technique, and attempted to strike Kagetsuchi's heart with his earth release fist rock technique. However, Kagetsuchi caught his fist before it could make contact, and in one swift motion, Kagetsuchi decapitated Daichi. Daichi's final thoughts were a bewildered realization of how an old man like Kagetsuchi could possess such incredibly fast reflexes. After the leader of the three major villages was killed, chaos and confusion reigned as there was no one left to command the army. It was every ninja for themselves, and they were no match for Kagetsuchi's terrifying power. For 30 long minutes, the sound of screams and the clash of steel filled the air as Kagetsuchi ruthlessly slaughtered anyone who dared to oppose him. Finally, he stopped and surveyed the destruction he had caused. Memories of his past flooded his mind as he looked upon the aftermath of the battle. Meanwhile, the elders and all the ninjas of the Uzumaki family who were maintaining the enchantment were stunned beyond belief. They could hardly comprehend what they had witnessed in just 1 hour. The complete annihilation of the armies of the 3 major villages. Not a single soul had survived. Just an hour earlier, they had been filled with dread and uncertainty, wondering if they would make it out alive. Now, they were left to grapple with the reality of their newfound safety, and the horror of the cost at which it had come. Kagetsuchi was faced with a group of other jonins and elders as they approached, the sound of their footsteps echoing on the ground. The first elder expressed gratitude towards Kagetsuchi for rescuing both the Uzumaki family and the Uzumaki country, saying, "Thank you, Elder Kagetsuchi." The second elder acknowledged Kagetsuchi's crucial role in the rescue, admitting, "I can't even imagine what would have happened if you hadn't been there. Keep your flattery to yourself. This is also my family, so I don't need your thank you," said Uzumaki Kagetsuchi with a cold expression. Kagetsuchi further asked, "What about the eyeliners from different major villages? Did you let them watch everything?" The first elder confirmed that they followed Kagetsuchi's orders to allow the outsiders to witness the battle, but then proceeded to capture all of them, including those who were monitoring the Uzumaki family compound. The elder stated, "Yes, as per your instructions, we allowed them to witness the battle. However, we captured all of them afterward, including the ones monitoring the Uzumaki family compound. The ninja teams consisting of jonins and chunins who were with us carried out the operation." Kagetsuchi inquired whether Patriarch had been informed about the situation, asking, "Have you informed Mitsuo about this?" "We have sent someone to inform the Patriarch," said the third elder. "All right, assemble in the meeting room after 3 hours. Now, do whatever you need to do," Kagetsuchi said before walking over to the nearest rock and sitting down, closing his eyes. He had used up almost 80% of his Ryatsu in the battle. Kagetsuchi sighed, realizing that with only 30% progress on Captain Yamamoto's template, this outcome was inevitable. If the progress had been at 100%, then the battle wouldn't have even been worth breaking a sweat over. "I can sense that once the template reaches 50% progress, I'll be able to awaken the Shikai of Ryujin Jaka," he thought to himself. At the same time, inside the Uzumaki village, Uzumaki Mitsuo paced back and forth, feeling tense about the battle that was taking place outside. "Swish, Patriarch, I have good news. We won." Master Kagetsuchi defeated the alliance of 3 major villages on his own, leaving none of their ninjas alive, reported the ninja, who was sent to deliver the news of Uzumaki Kagetsuchi's victory. "That's great news. Uncle really did what he said he would do. But what about him? Was he injured during the battle?" He felt relieved that the Uzumaki family had survived this catastrophic event, but his mind was still preoccupied with the thought of his uncle's safety. "The Patriarch will be pleased to know that Master Kagetsuchi is unharmed. He wasn't even scratched during the entire battle," reported the ninja. "Could you describe the entire process of the battle?" Mitsuo inquired. The ninja described the whole process of the battle with a fanatic expression on his face. As Mitsuo listened, he grew increasingly shocked. Although he had heard many stories about his uncle from his father, he had never witnessed his uncle's incredible strength and skill firsthand. Mitsuo's father held his elder brother in high regard, not only because of their familial relationship, but also because of his uncle's exceptional abilities. After hearing that his uncle was fine, Mitsuo breathed a sigh of relief and turned to the ninja. "Please spread this news quickly so that everyone can be relieved. Also, announce that tonight we will have a big celebration," he instructed. The ninja nodded in agreement and left in a hurry. He was also eager to spread the good news, knowing that it would bring happiness to the entire community. Within half an hour, every member of the Uzumaki family knew that they were safe, and the threat that had been looming over them was gone. Everyone was filled with happiness and danced in joy. As people gathered throughout the Uzumaki village, they couldn't help but marvel at the incredible strength and bravery of the Patriarch's uncle. "He is like a god to us. He saved us all," remarked one person. "And not only did he save us, but he also punished those bastards," added another. "I just want to meet him and personally thank him," chimed in a third. Similar discussions took place in every corner of the village, as everyone felt genuinely grateful and joyous for their deliverance. 3 hours later, Kagetsuchi, clad in his Shinigami outfit, sat with a calm expression on his face in the main seat in the meeting room of the Uzumaki family. Beside him, the Patriarch, Uzumaki Mitsuo, sat with a look of reverence and gratitude towards his uncle. All 4 elders and elite jonin were also present, sitting parallel to each other, their faces displaying a mix of admiration and astonishment at the heroism displayed by Kagetsuchi in defeating the 3 major villages single-handedly. The first elder asked Kagetsuchi, "Master Kagetsuchi, should I bring in all the prisoners we have captured, including the eyeliner?" Uzumaki Kagetsuchi replied, "There's no need to bring them all in. Just bring in 1 ninja from each village who witnessed the battle, and execute the rest." "Indeed, as you have commanded, elder." "And what shall be done about the Konoha ninjas?" inquired the first elder. "Have you failed to comprehend my words? Or are you still entertaining fantasies of Konoha being our ally?" Kagetsuchi asked angrily. The first elder lowered his head in shame and said, "I apologize, elder. I have made a mistake." Just then a jonin entered the meeting room and said, "Patriarch, there are individuals from Konoha outside our village. who wish to speak with you. Why are those wretches from Konoha here? Exclaimed the fourth elder. The very moment we needed them, they did not arrive. But now that we have repelled the invaders, these wretches have shown up, stated the second elder. Silence. Let us ascertain their purpose. Come with me to meet them, commanded Kagetsuchi. Following that, Kagetsuchi departed the meeting room with Uzumaki Mitsuo, accompanied by the elders and elite jonin. A few minutes ago, the Uzumaki country was infiltrated by a group of 20 ninjas, dressed in the customary Ambu attire. The leader, who had white hair and wore a mask on his face, spoke to the group. As we approach the Uzumaki country, stay vigilant for potential ambushes or traps. Our top priority is to rescue any survivors and obtain all of the sealing techniques belonging to the Uzumaki family. We cannot allow these techniques to be acquired by other villages. Understood, Captain Whitefang, replied the other members of the team. If the three major villages have taken any captives, what should our course of action be? Inquired a member of the Ambu team. Attempt to rescue the survivors, but if it proves unfeasible, then Whitefang didn't finish his sentence, yet everyone present comprehended the implication. Following Whitefang's statement, the team proceeded in silence, exercising the utmost caution and vigilance as they made their way toward the Uzumaki country. Upon arriving at the outskirts of the Uzumaki village, they were taken aback by the sight before them. The houses were intact, and the inhabitants were moving about with smiles on their faces. This was in stark contrast to the team's expectations, as they had envisioned ruined houses, people crying and running for their lives. The reality they encountered was entirely different and completely opposite to what they had imagined. Let's halt here and conduct an investigation first to determine what has occurred before proceeding, stated Whitefang. Agreed. If we act recklessly, we may be mistaken for recruits by the three major villages, and that's the last thing we want, added the deputy captain. Hey B, could you dispatch your insects to investigate the situation in the Uzumaki country? That way, we can make better decisions, requested Whitefang. The Ambu member, who went by the codename B, nodded and began to release bugs from his body, sending them toward the Uzumaki village to gather information. It was evident that B was a member of the Aburam clan, known for their ability to communicate and control insects. After 10 minutes, the bugs returned to B, and he obtained all the necessary information from them. Captain Whitefang, following my investigation, it appears that the Uzumaki clan has repelled, or more accurately, annihilated the alliance army of the three major villages. Furthermore, it seems that a single person, named Kagetsuchi, who is the uncle of the current patriarch of the Uzumaki family, accomplished this feat, reported B. That's impossible. How could a single person possibly annihilate the entire army of the three major villages? Questioned one of the Ambu members. According to our intel, there were around 4,500 people in the army, added another Ambu member. This is the information my insects have gathered, whether you choose to believe it or not, replied B, standing by his report. Is there anything else to report? Inquired Whitefang. Also, it appears that all members of the Uzumaki family are overjoyed with their victory. Their patriarch has ordered a celebration tonight, added B. Captain Whitefang, it appears that we have been spotted. A team of ninjas from the Uzumaki family is heading in our direction, reported the sensory Ambu ninja. Alright, let's move in their direction. Remember, we are here as support, and we should keep our mission confidential from the village, instructed Whitefang. He then led the team toward the approaching Uzumaki ninja team. The rest of the Ambu members followed closely behind him. The two teams finally met, and the leader of the Uzumaki ninja wasted no time in asking, "Who are you? And what is your purpose for entering the Uzumaki country?" Whitefang stepped forward and removed his mask. He introduced himself, saying, "My name is Haddock Tsukumo, and I am here to support the Uzumaki village on behalf of the Konoha village." The leading jonin of the Uzumaki village responded with disdain, "Support? Support what? The dead bodies of our Uzumaki family or the sealing techniques of our Uzumaki family?" His contemptuous expression never wavered. "I assure you, we have no other motives but to support the Uzumaki village," said Tsukumo, even though it wasn't entirely true. Admitting their true intentions could cause a permanent rift between Konoha and Uzumaki. The jonin leader simply huffed and remained silent towards Tsukumo's explanation. He then turned to one of his ninjas and instructed, "Go and inform the patriarch of this." The ninja promptly left to relay the message to their leader. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi arrived with Mitsuo, the elders, and the elite jonins. After a brief wait, Kagetsuchi took the lead and addressed the head jonin, saying, "Please brief me on everything you know about the Konoha ninjas." "Of course, Master Kagetsuchi," replied the jonin, bowing before addressing him further. "The Konoha ninjas arrived in the Uzumaki country half an hour ago and stopped in front of our village, after traveling for 20 minutes. They seemed confused, and one of their ninjas sent bugs to scout our village. When we confronted them and asked about their purpose, they claimed to be there to support us. However, I sensed through my Kagura Heart Eye ability that they were lying." Upon hearing the jonin leader's words, Tsukumo felt embarrassed. He remembered that only those from the Uzumaki family could awaken the Kagura Heart Eye ability, but he did not expect that this particular Jonin had awakened the ability and had been keeping a close eye on their every move. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi looked at Tsukumo and spoke, "If my assumption is correct, your main objective must be to collect all the sealing techniques of our Uzumaki family and save any survivors if possible." Tsukumo replied, "We would have saved any survivors we found." Kagetsuchi asked, "What if they were captured by the enemy? Would you still save them or let them die?" Without any hesitation, Tsukumo replied, "We would absolutely try our best to save any members of the Uzumaki family." Kagetsuchi posed another question. "What if you cannot save them, but have a chance to kill them? What will you do?" The deputy captain replied, "Why would we kill them? We will do our utmost to save them." Tsukumo gazed at the deputy captain with a stern expression. The deputy captain realized that if he had stayed silent, they might not have suspected anything, but now that he had spoken, Kagetsuchi would know that he was lying. Kagetsuchi chuckled at them and said, "I feel sorry for you, having such unreliable teammates." Kagetsuchi turned to the first elder and said, "Bring me all the ninjas you have captured." Upon receiving orders from Kagetsuchi, the first elder, accompanied by some elite Jonins, proceeded to retrieve the prisoners. After a wait of 15 minutes, the first elder returned with approximately 30 prisoners who had been captured. "Let's select one ninja from each village who has witnessed the entirety of the battle," suggested Kagetsuchi. Following Kagetsuchi's instructions, the first elder proceeded to carefully select one ninja from each of the major villages who had witnessed the entire battle. After a thorough evaluation, he presented the weakest among them to Kagetsuchi. In a cold and unflinching tone, Kagetsuchi ordered, "Execute the remaining prisoners." Tsukumo had initially believed that none of the Konoha ninjas would be targeted for execution. However, upon witnessing one of their own being selected while the remaining 7 were forced to kneel and face their impending demise, he could no longer remain silent. In a sudden outburst, he cried out, "Stop! What are you doing? Konoha and Uzumaki village are our allies. You can't just kill your own allies." With a firm and unyielding tone, Kagetsuchi responded, "You were the ones who broke the alliance first, so there's no point in pleading now." Tsukumo was momentarily silenced by Kagetsuchi's words, but he could not stand by and watch his fellow villagers be executed before his eyes. "Unless you put an end to this, we will have no choice but to take action," warned Tsukumo, drawing his short sword from its scabbard on his back. Seeing their captain's resolve, every Anbu member present followed suit and unsheathed their weapons, ready to fight to protect their own. With an air of confidence and arrogance, Kagetsuchi retorted, "Do your job. Let's see who can stop us." Firewall. Suddenly, a massive firewall appeared and encircled Kagetsuchi and all the Anbu members, effectively trapping them within its confines. Upon seeing the imposing firewall, Tsukumo realized that there was no way out unless they could defeat Kagetsuchi and break through the barrier. "Unleash your full power and attack him with everything you have got. Our only chance of escaping this trap is by defeating him," declared Tsukumo, urging his fellow Anbu members to give it their all in the battle ahead. With those words of encouragement, Tsukumo transformed into a flash of white light and appeared directly in front of Kagetsuchi. He launched a swift strike aimed at the man's throat, but it was swiftly deflected by Kagetsuchi, who seemed more than capable of defending himself. "You're just a boy trying to compete in the art of swordsmanship, but you're too inexperienced for that," scoffed Kagetsuchi. As he spoke, a massive swarm of bugs began to surround him. However, as the swarm approached within a 50 centimeters radius of his body, the bugs were instantly incinerated. With a commanding voice, Tsukumo called out, "Water release, water dragon bullet technique," and a colossal water dragon emerged, hurtling towards Kagetsuchi's location with fierce intensity. But Kagetsuchi was quick to respond, unleashing a massive fire dragon that was twice the size of the water dragon. The two dragons collided with a tremendous force, causing a massive explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the surrounding area. As the two dragons collided, a massive cloud of steam enveloped the battlefield, causing the temperature to rise to unbearable levels due to the intense heat emanating from Kagetsuchi's fire dragon. The Anbu members tried to dodge the steam as best as they could, but the heat was too much for them to handle. In the midst of the chaos, Tsukumo saw an opening and launched another attack on Kagetsuchi. However, once again, his strike was easily deflected by Kagetsuchi. Realizing the futility of their efforts to defeat Kagetsuchi, the deputy captain attempted to escape using the earth release tunneling technique. He quickly dug a tunnel underground and began to make his escape. However, as soon as he entered the tunnel, a massive burst of fire erupted from it, incinerating the deputy captain and dashing any hopes of escaping underground. The remaining Anbu members were left with no choice but to continue their attack on Kagetsuchi, hoping that they could find a way to defeat him before it was too late. "Shall we end this?" Kagetsuchi said calmly as his crutch transformed into a finely crafted katana with a purple handle, glinting menacingly in the light. After transforming his crutch into a katana, Kagetsuchi swiftly moved around the battlefield, cutting down each of the jonin with ease. Each time he struck, a massive burst of flames consumed the fallen ninja, leaving behind only ashes. Despite Tsukumo's best efforts, he was unable to stop Kagutsuchi, and one by one, his team members fell to the ground, lifeless. The sense of despair within Tsukumo grew stronger with each passing moment. Eventually, Kagutsuchi sheathed his katana, which reverted into a normal-looking crutch, and the flames surrounding them vanished. All of Tsukumo's teammates were dead, and he was left alone with Kagutsuchi. "What are you waiting for? Didn't I tell you to execute all of them?" demanded Kagutsuchi, his gaze fixed on the elders. His words snapped the elders out of their stupor, and they swiftly carried out the executions of the captured ninjas. Kagutsuchi turned his attention to Tsukumo, who was standing there silently, feeling a mix of anger and despair after witnessing the death of his entire team. "What was his name again?" Kagutsuchi asked, gesturing towards Tsukumo. "His name is Hatak Tsukumo," replied the Uzumaki jonin. "Ah, Hatak Tsukumo, take this remaining ninja with you. He has witnessed my battle with the Ninja Alliance army firsthand, and you yourself have experienced it as well," Kagutsuchi said with a smile. Tsukumo was filled with a sense of hopelessness, but he knew he had to bring the information about Kagutsuchi back to Konoha and the Hokage. "And tell Mito that I will come to meet her within 1 week," Kagutsuchi added. Tsukumo looked at Kagutsuchi one last time, as if trying to imprint his image in his memory, before turning and leaving with the surviving ninja. "Uncle, do you think it would be wise to spare his life? He has great potential and could become a powerhouse at cage level in the future," Mitsuo asked his uncle. "You make a valid point. He does have the potential to become a cage level powerhouse. However, after today, he will either die of humiliation or work hard to avenge his teammates. Furthermore, we must consider the security of our people. If he attacks anyone from the Uzumaki country, you needn't worry. If he kills any of our people, I will kill thousands in Konoha," Kagutsuchi responded, looking at Mitsuo. "You must be exhausted from the attack on our village and preparing for tonight's celebration. Why don't you rest now, and we can catch up at the celebration?" Kagutsuchi suggested. "Thank you, uncle. I will see you at the celebration. Please get some rest as well," Mitsuo replied before leaving with the elders. Kagutsuchi also departed for his old courtyard. "System claim rewards," said Kagutsuchi. ___________ding. "Congratulations on obtaining Captain Yamamoto's 60% template card _____________." Kagutsuchi chuckled to himself and said, "Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I was planning to go to Konoha and teach them a lesson, but I never thought of doing it in a way that would strike fear into the hearts of the entire ninja world and the Uzumaki family. With this card, I can change my plan. ____________ding. Congratulations on getting Fire Body Secret Technique. Light Brace Fire Body Secret Technique. The body can turn into fire and can't be hurt by physical attacks, but it can be restrained by water. Light Brace _____________. If a great technique is taught to the clan members, their strength will undergo a qualitative change." He immediately learned this secret technique and decided to give it to Mitsuo during the celebration. Now, due to this secret technique, the Uzumaki country will become renowned for its new ability to control fire. As Kagutsuchi pondered to himself, he considered that the Uzumaki family would be well suited for the secret technique due to their fiery tempers and red hair. Following this, he began meditating on Raijin Jaka, understanding that everything depends on strength and therefore, he must continue to increase his own. As the hours gradually ticked away, the much-anticipated time for celebration drew ever closer. Kagutsuchi, keenly aware of this, made sure to prepare himself accordingly by donning a simple yet elegant attire, consisting of a pristine white kimono and a complimentary blue haori draped over it. With his trusty crutch in hand, he went to the venue for the celebration. A spacious area was chosen for the festivities, one that would provide ample room for every member of the family to partake in the celebration and enjoy themselves to the fullest. "Uncle, please come and take a seat over here," Mitsuo said, leading Kagutsuchi towards a stage that had been specially erected for the occasion. It was designed not only for the purpose of the celebration, but also to honor Kagutsuchi as the savior who had saved them from a tragic end. The stage had been strategically positioned so that everyone present could see their savior. Taking his seat in the center of the stage, Kagutsuchi spoke up, addressing the crowd. "This is my family, and I will protect them for as long as I live. I won't say much else, so let's all enjoy today's celebration to the fullest, and make the most of this joyous occasion." Kagutsuchi's words were met with cheers and applause from the gathered crowd, and the celebration continued with renewed vigor and excitement. As the festivities were underway, Mitsuo approached Kagutsuchi, accompanied by a little girl. "Uncle," Mitsuo began, "this is my granddaughter, Kishina. Say hello to your grandpa, Kishina." Pointing towards Kagutsuchi, Kishina spoke up with a bright smile on her face. "You're the grandpa I ran into this morning." With a smile, Kagutsuchi chuckled and asked the little girl, "Haha, so did you send people some food?" "Yes, I did," replied Kishina, before adding with a hint of annoyance, and I'm not a little girl anymore. I've grown up, she declared, her face puffed up in a cute display of indignation. Kagetsuchi laughed heartily. Ha ha ha, you can't even reach my height when I'm sitting down. And you say you've grown up? Mitsuo interjected. Kishina, don't be rude. Kagetsuchi is your grandpa and a hero to a family. You should respect him. Kagetsuchi waved his hand dismissively. It's alright, Mitsuo. Let her speak her mind. After all, she is my granddaughter, isn't she? He said with a warm smile. Kishina's expression softened as she looked up at Kagetsuchi. Sorry, Grandpa. I didn't mean to be rude. I just wanted to show you how much I've grown. Kagetsuchi patted her head affectionately. It's alright, my dear. I understand. Now, let's enjoy this celebration together, shall we? Mitsuo was overjoyed at the harmonious relationship between his granddaughter and his uncle Kagetsuchi. Seeing them together, one would never suspect that Kagetsuchi had single-handedly slaughtered an entire ninja army without batting an eyelid. As Kagetsuchi teased Kishina, Mitsuo watched the two with a content smile on his face. It was heartwarming to see his granddaughter and uncle bonding so well. Despite knowing that Kagetsuchi was a formidable warrior who had single-handedly defeated an entire ninja army, he seemed like any ordinary family member at the moment. After a while, Kagetsuchi reached into his pocket and pulled out the booklet. He handed it to Mitsuo and said, "This is a secret technique that I have developed. Take a look at it and give it to our family members and those who are loyal to us. But make sure to cast a curse seal, so that they can't spread this technique, nor can anyone extract it from their minds." As Mitsuo read through the booklet, he was shocked to find that the secret technique was similar to one used by the Hazuki clan, leaders of different clans in Kurigaka. He couldn't find the words to express his gratitude, and could only bow before Kagetsuchi and say, "Thank you, uncle." In response, Kagetsuchi scolded Mitsuo lightly, saying, "Don't always bow before me. You are the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan." And so the celebration continued, with the Uzumaki family coming together to enjoy the day and cherish their bond. After midnight, the festivities in Uzumaki village came to a close, and the revelers slowly made their way back to their homes. At the same time somewhere in the land of fire. Rest here for 2 hours. After that, we'll continue our journey, instructed Hatik Tsukumo. Got it, replied Nakamura. Before they both sat down on a nearby tree to rest. Master Whitefang, Nakamura began, his voice heavy with emotion. I have grave news to deliver. One of my companions, who had just become a father, has fallen in battle. His joy and happiness at the birth of his child have now turned to despair and tragedy. I cannot bear the thought of facing his wife and telling her that her husband will never return home. The weight of this task is almost unbearable, and it makes my legs heavy with reluctance to continue our journey towards Konoha. Tsukumo gazed up at the sky, a pained expression on his face. The Hokage believed in me and placed me in charge of this mission to protect everyone. But now, I am the only one left alive. I may not have known them all personally, but I was responsible for their safety, and yet, they still perished. It's a burden that I must carry for the rest of my life, he spoke with a heavy heart. After a moment of silence, Hatik Tsukumo suddenly became alert and stood up, his gaze fixed in a single direction. Observing Tsukumo's reaction, Nakamura quickly followed suit, rising to his feet and becoming equally vigilant. As they stood guard, Tsukumo and Nakamura spotted a team of 3 Kurigaka ninjas. The Kurigaka squad noticed them as well, and the two groups faced each other in tense silence. Tsukumo broke the silence with a question. What are ninjas from Kurigaka doing here in the Fire Country? He demanded to know. We are on a mission, replied the leader of the Kurigaka team, his voice cold and confident. Why don't we just kill them? There are only 3 people, whispered one of the Kurigaka ninja into the leader's ear. The leader of the Kurigaka team listened intently and then grinned wickedly, clearly amused by the suggestion. Tsukumo, who was a Quasi-Cage level ninja, heard the whisper from the Kurigaka ninja, and immediately drew his short sword. His instincts were honed, and he was prepared for whatever the enemy squad might throw at him. Head towards Konoha. I will take care of them, instructed Tsukumo to Nakamura. He knew he had to finish this battle before it caused any more damage, and he was determined to do it alone. Nakamura hesitated for a moment, but then, trusting his leader's abilities, he nodded and left to follow Tsukumo's orders. Tsukumo moved swiftly through the forest, his sword at the ready. The 3 ninjas from Kurigaka emerged from the shadows, their eyes glinting in the moonlight. The first ninja raised his hands and created a massive wall of earth, blocking Tsukumo's path. Undeterred, Tsukumo used Wind Style, Wind Blade Jutsu to slice through the earth wall and continue his charge. The second ninja leaped forward and launched Water Style, Water Shark Bullet Jutsu, sending a fast-moving stream of water shaped like a shark towards Tsukumo. Tsukumo quickly dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. As the water crashed into the trees behind him, several of them toppled over, crashing to the ground with a thunderous roar. Meanwhile, the third ninja used Earth Style, Earth Release, Earth Flow Divide to split the ground beneath Tsukumo's feet, causing him to stumble. Seizing the opportunity, the ninja charged forward, kunai in hand. But Tsukumo quickly recovered and used his lightning-fast swordsmanship to parry the attack and strike the ninja down. The first ninja unleashed another jutsu, Earth Style. Earth Release. Earth Flow Divide, splitting the ground beneath Tsukumo once again. But this time, Tsukumo was prepared. He used Thunder Style, Thunder Blade Jutsu, to create a sword made of lightning, which he used to cut through the earth and land a blow on the second ninja, injuring him badly. As the third ninja circled around for another attack, Tsukumo used Wind Style, Wind Blade Jutsu, to slice through several nearby trees, causing them to fall and block the ninja's path. The ninja quickly darted around the fallen trees, but as he did, Tsukumo charged forward and used his swordsmanship to strike a fatal blow. With 2 of the Kurigaka ninjas defeated, only 1 remained. But this ninja was a skilled water user, and he launched Water Style, Water Release, Great Shark Missile Jutsu, sending a massive, powerful shark-shaped stream of water towards Tsukumo. The force of the attack was too much, and Tsukumo was knocked off his feet, landing hard on his left shoulder. Gritting his teeth against the pain, Tsukumo slowly rose to his feet, his sword at the ready. The final ninja charged forward, kunai in hand, but Tsukumo was ready. Using Thunder Style, Thunder Blade Jutsu, he created a sword made of lightning, and clashed with the ninja in a fierce battle. But Tsukumo's skill was too much for the ninja, and in the end, Tsukumo emerged victorious. As the battle ended, the forest was in shambles. Trees had been cut down, the ground was torn apart, and the bodies of the defeated ninjas lay scattered around the clearing. Tsukumo's left shoulder throbbed with pain, but he knew he had emerged victorious. With a weary sigh, he sheathed his sword and began the long journey back toward Konoha. In the midst of a dense forest, Nakamura and the other ninja faced off in a battle that would determine the victor. Nakamura was armed with his formidable fire-style ninjutsu, and his mastery of the 3-body technique. Meanwhile, the other ninja wielded a sharp sword and sea-level water release. The battle started with the other ninja charging at Nakamura with his sword. However, Nakamura's substitution technique allowed him to dodge the attack and counter with his fire release. Flame Bullet Ninjutsu. The other ninja managed to dodge the flames, but was caught off guard by Nakamura's fire release. Mist Blaze Dance Technique, which created a thick cloud of smoke obscuring the other ninja's vision, and after that, as Nakamura added a fire, the whole smoke caught fire. Taking advantage of the unpreparedness of the other ninja, Nakamura closed in on the other ninja and launched his fire release. Dragon Fire Technique. He wasn't that proficient in it, due to which the blast of fire was so powerful that it caused a small explosion, and in the process, Nakamura lost his left hand. But it was enough to defeat the other ninja, who fainted from the impact of the blast. Despite his injuries, Nakamura emerged victorious. His 3-body technique allowed him to evade the other ninja's attacks and land decisive blows. And his mastery of the fire style ninjutsu proved too much for the other ninja to handle. However, the cost of victory was high, as Nakamura had lost his left hand in the process, and for a ninja, his arm is very important. A few minutes later, Tsukumo caught up and witnessed Nakamura's wretched state. Tsukumo suggested, "We should hurry towards Konoha to get you treated." Nakamura gave a nod and headed toward Konoha. As the first rays of sunlight illuminated the sky, Tsukumo and Nakamura entered Konoha. "We've finally made it," Nakamura said before fainting. Tsukumo caught him just in time and rushed him to the Konoha hospital for treatment. At the same time, inside Hokage office, Lord Hokage, Captain Tsukumo has returned to Konoha, but he's not with his team. Instead, he's accompanied by another ninja named Nakamura, who was part of the team responsible for monitoring Uzumaki country. Both of them have sustained injuries, reported the Anbu member as he knelt before the Hokage. "Very well. Bring them to my office," instructed 3rd Hokage Saratobi Hiruzen. After entering Konoha, Nakamura fainted, and the captain took him to the Konoha hospital, reported the Anbu member. "Thank you for informing me. You may leave now. I will go to the hospital myself to speak with Tsukumo," said Saratobi Hiruzen as he prepared to leave for the hospital. However, before he could leave, a man with one eye entered his office. Shimura Danzo, the leader of Root. "Hiruzen, I heard that Tsukumo has returned," said Danzo. "Yes, I'm on my way to the hospital to meet with him," replied Saratobi Hiruzen. "I'll come with you," offered Danzo. Saratobi Hiruzen simply nodded in response, and quickly made his way to the Konoha hospital, with Danzo following closely behind. Eventually, they arrived at the Konoha hospital. "Can you tell me where Tsukumo is?" asked Saratobi Hiruzen of a nurse. "Over there," the nurse pointed to one of the rooms. Saratobi with Danzo went inside the room and saw Tsukumo being treated. After seeing Hokage enter, Tsukumo wanted to get up, but was stopped by Saratobi Hiruzen. "What happened? Why are you alone, and where are your teammates?" Danzo asked without showing any concern for Tsukumo's injuries. "Danzo, Can't you see that he's injured? Sarutobi chastised. Shem PH, as a ninja, he's bound to get injured. So why sympathize with him? Danzo remarked callously. Sarutobi glared at Danzo, appalled by his lack of empathy for a fellow shinobi. We are all human beings first, Danzo. As leaders, it is our responsibility to care for our subordinates and ensure their well-being, he retorted sternly. I agree with Lord Danzo. My injuries are not that serious, and I can speak, Tsukumo said, acknowledging Danzo's earlier statement. Alright, if you're feeling up to it, please tell us what happened. And where are the other Anbu members who were with you? Sarutobi asked, turning his attention back to Tsukumo. As per your orders, I traveled to Uzumaki country with my team to retrieve all the sealing techniques and bring any orphans back to Konoha. However, upon arriving, we discovered that the Uzumaki country had successfully defended against the alliance army of 3 major villages. We were then discovered by an Uzumaki ninja team, and I represented us as support sent by Konoha for Uzumaki country. However, due to their abilities with the Kagura heart, they saw through our ruse and learned our true intentions. I still maintain that we were there to support Uzumaki, as accepting otherwise would not have benefited either of us. But then, I discovered that they had captured all the spies sent by the major villages to monitor Uzumaki country, including 8 spies sent by Konoha. They were about to execute everyone except for 1 person from each village. But I couldn't simply stand by and watch my fellow Konoha villagers be killed. I tried to reason with them that such actions would make them enemies of Konoha, but they refused to listen. So, we attempted to save them by force. But the man leading the Uzumaki forces was too powerful. He easily defeated my team, and I was unable to even scratch him, Tsukumo recounted, his guilt causing him to lower his head and avoid eye contact with the Hokage. As they processed Tsukumo's words, both Sarutobi and Danzo couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and fear toward the Uzumaki clan. They knew firsthand the strength of the major villages, and if they were to attack the Uzumaki village, it was almost certain that the Uzumaki clan would be wiped out. Yet, here they were, not only surviving, but also possessing a powerhouse who could effortlessly defeat a team of 20 skilled ninjas. Even Sarutobi himself was unsure if he could come out unscathed in such a battle. Tsukumo's voice betrayed his despair, and Sarutobi could sense the guilt he was feeling for not being able to protect his team. It was clear that the man who defeated them was on a completely different level, and they needed to tread carefully around the Uzumaki clan. Taking a deep breath, Sarutobi inquired, "May I know the name of this man?" Tsukumo took a deep breath before answering. The man's name is Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. After we arrived in Uzumaki country, we conducted an investigation into how the Uzumaki family managed to escape their demise. The results were shocking, as every member of the family spoke of how Uzumaki Kagetsuchi single-handedly defeated an army of 4,500 ninjas. At first, we found it hard to believe, but after witnessing the strength of Uzumaki Kagetsuchi myself, I now believe that he is capable of such a feat. And for the details of the battle, you have to wait for Nakamura to wake up. As Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to speak further, a woman with red hair and a hexagonal mark between her eyebrows interrupted him. "What name did you just say?" she asked. Mito-sama. Everyone present in the room bowed toward her. Even Tsukumo, who was sitting down, quickly stood up and bowed. Mito asked, "Is he skilled in fire-style jutsu?" "Indeed, he can use fire-style jutsu effortlessly as if he can control the flames," replied Tsukumo with respect in his tone. "Mito-sama, do you happen to know him?" inquired Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Certainly, I know him. He is my uncle, after all. You may not be aware of his true name, but you must have heard of his other name, Fire God," Mito said. "Yes, the Fire God who destroyed the Tetsuken clan, which had 1 cage-level powerhouse," said Danzo. Everyone listened intently as Mito spoke, even though it was narrated in that way. If I were to compare their strength to a clan, it would be the combined strength of the Sarutobi and Shimura clans during the Warring States period. And now, your clan's strength is far weaker compared to that period. So, do not undermine his feat. He attacked that clan alone, and even announced his motive beforehand to take revenge for his son's death. They even prepared for his attack, and had their secret technique of controlling metals, yet they were still destroyed. This should give you an idea of how powerful he truly was. "So tell me, did he say anything for me?" asked Mito, looking at Tsukumo. "He just said that he will come to Konoha to meet you personally," said Tsukumo. After nodding, Mito left. Danzo and Hiruzen looked at each other after listening to the words of Uzumaki Mito. Even though Mito didn't say anything targeting their clan, but from her tone, it can be felt that how much she disdains the strength of the Sarutobi and Shimura clans. If someone else said what was said, then they might have retorted, but the person who spoke is a perfect Jinchuriki of 9 tails, and wife of ninja god Senju Hashirama. After watching Mito leave after a long time, Danzo spoke, "HMPH to when her clan is going to live anyway." Sarutobi Hiruzen glared at Danzo. Seeing this, Danzo immediately shut up. Sarutobi Hiruzen then looked towards Tsukumo and said, "Tsukumo, rest well. I know what you are feeling. but you have to be brave and work hard to take revenge for your comrades. After saying this, Sarutobi Hiruzen left and called Anbu and said, "Go call the head of the intelligence department to meet me right now." Yes. After saying this, Anbu member left. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo went to the ward where Nakamura was being treated, and waited outside till the head of intelligence department came. The head was from Yamanaka clan, Yamanaka Noki. "Hokage-sama, what are your orders?" said Yamanaka Noki. "You see the person lying on the hospital bed extract his memories of the past 5 days," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. Yes. After saying that, he went to Nakamura and started to read his memories of the past 5 days. After watching his memory, Yamanaka Noki was covered in a cold sweat with a clear fear on his face. He was gasping for air. "What did you see that made you so fearful?" asked Danzo. After calming down, Yamanaka Noki spoke. "I can't describe what I saw. I can only show you what I saw from his memories." Then show. As Danzo was saying, he was interrupted by Sarutobi Hiruzen. "You don't have to show now. We will talk about it during the high-level meeting." Sarutobi Hiruzen then turned towards the Anbu and spoke. "Go call all the elite jonins and patriarch of the families for an urgent meeting." Yes. After saying that, Anbu member left. After the Anbu member left to inform everyone, Sarutobi also went back to his office with Danzo. As everyone got orders to assemble for a meeting, every elite jonin and patriarch of the family moved in the direction of the Hokage building for the meeting. Within 2 hours, everyone was present in the meeting room in the Hokage building. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen also entered with Danzo, Kahari Utatane, Homura Mitakado, and sat on the main seat. Many of you might have known that the Uzumaki family was attacked by 3 major villages, but due to lack of manpower, we were unable to send troops to help the Uzumaki family. But the latest news is that the Uzumaki family has survived, and not only that, but there is a very powerful person present in Uzumaki family. So today's meeting is to discuss our further approach, said Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Hokage-sama, who is that person?" asked Uchiha Satsuna, current patriarch of the Uchiha family. "His name is Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, uncle of Mito-sama, and he is also known as Fire God," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. After listening to this name, everyone was confused because no one have heard of this name, but some old ninja and family patriarchs knew about the name Fire God, and shared the reason why Uzumaki Kagetsuchi was named this. After listening to the explanation of old ninjas, everyone calmed down. Sing Everyone Countdown said, "Captain Yamanaka Noki, please show us what you saw in the memory of Nakamura." Yamanaka Noki nodded and used his jutsu on everyone and showed the memories of the first scene was how Uzumaki Kagetsuchi alone destroyed the whole army of 4,500 ninjas from 3 major villages. Second was the scene when everyone from the team of Tsukumo was killed without any effort by Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. Everyone present in the room can feel how powerful Kagetsuchi really is, and the destruction of the army of 3 major villages for him seemed easy. "How can such an old man be this powerful?" said a boy with white hair. "He is none other than Jiraiya." "Can you do this, sensei?" asked Jiraiya. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face twitched after listening to Jiraiya. He can't say that it's impossible for him to achieve this feat in any way. "You mustn't have called us only for this, right, Hokage-sama?" asked Narashinichi. "Yes, we also learned that he is coming to Konoha within a few days maybe. So we have to be prepared. You know, we didn't support Uzumaki village as an ally, so he might resent towards Konoha. So from today, Konoha will be on high alert," said Sarutobi Hiruzen in a serious tone. If he really attacked a jonin, wanted to show his concern after seeing the power of Uzumaki Kagetsuchi. "Don't worry, Mito-sama will make a move if things escalated to that point," Sarutobi Hiruzen said. After hearing this, everyone present in the meeting room felt relieved. "If Mito-sama makes a move, then we will be saved," said one jonin. "Yeah. With Mito-sama present here, no one can do anything in Konoha," said another jonin. "Okay. If nothing else, today's meeting is over," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. After listening to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, everyone left. But no one saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's fist was clenched under the table. After everyone left, only Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo, Kahari Utatane, and Homura Mitakado were left in the meeting room. "Hiruzen, you saw that, right? No one believes in you, but believes in her. That family will become a hindrance if not removed," said Danzo. "Now is not the time," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Ninja world is getting restless, and war may break out in a few years' time. So people die in war," continued Sarutobi Hiruzen. After listening to the words of Sarutobi Hiruzen, everyone present in the meeting room smiled. "Yes, that will be the time when every unstable factor can be removed," said Kahari Utatane. "Okay. Leave today meeting shall come to an end here," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. At the same time in Kumogaka, Reikage office. Bang! The sound of a table breaking filled the room. "Damn it. How can someone that powerful still be alive in Uzumaki country? What the hell is Anbu doing? Can't they even find out that such a strong individual is still alive within the Uzumaki family? Reikage exclaimed, I can't let this go. Send a message to Inoki and 3rd Mizukage that we will attack Uzumaki country again. But this time, we will all join in and take down that bastard ourselves. We will avenge the deaths of our village's ninjas, Reikage said in an enraged tone. Even for him, losing so many skilled ninjas at once caused him to become furious. Observing all of this, Mabuki let out a sigh. Master Reikage, you can't be impulsive on this matter. After hearing the description of the ninja who survived, we know that even after defeating an entire army of 4,500 ninjas, he didn't look tired at all. This clearly shows that he still had plenty of energy to spare, Mabuki cautioned. So, what? I'm just supposed to sit and watch? Asked Reikage. Yes. In the end, the surviving ninja told us that Uzumaki Kagetsuchi said to Tsukumo that he will visit Konoha himself. So let's observe Konoha's reaction to this matter and proceed accordingly. As far as I know, even Konoha wants to get rid of the Uzumaki family, said Mabuki. You're correct. But still, tell everyone to be prepared for battle, said Reikage. Just like Reikage, Inoki and 3rd Mizukage were also frustrated upon hearing the news of the deaths of so many ninjas from their village. But they were helpless, and could only wait for the reactions of 3rd Reikage and Konoha after Kagetsuchi's visit. Thus, the entire ninja world remained silent for a day and a night. As the first rays of sunlight shone upon the gate of Uzumaki village, Uzumaki Kagetsuchi stood outside with Mitsuo and the elders. Uncle, why don't you take these elite jonins with you? They may prove to be helpful, suggested Mitsuo. I appreciate your concern, Mitsuo, but I don't require assistance. I will be visiting Konoha alone, added Kagetsuchi. Mitsuo let out a sigh after hearing Kagetsuchi's words. His uncle was right. These ninjas would only hold him back. No need to worry. I will return to the Uzumaki family by tomorrow, reassured Kagetsuchi. After that, he left using Shunpo, moving at an incredible speed towards Konoha. After traveling for hours, crossing forests, rivers, and mountains, Kagetsuchi stumbled upon a caravan being attacked by a group of ruthless bandits. The caravan comprised of merchants and traders who were on their way to Konoha to sell their goods in the market. The bandits had already looted the caravan, leaving the travelers stranded and wounded. Without a single flicker of hesitation, Kagetsuchi made a swift motion with his hand, causing each and every bandit to be engulfed in flames, their screams filling the air. The merchants and traders, who had been held hostage by the ruthless bandits, were relieved and thankful for Kagetsuchi's intervention. However, Kagetsuchi humbly refused to accept any monetary reward or compensation, citing that it was his responsibility as a ninja to safeguard the lives of those who were unable to defend themselves. After ensuring the safety of the caravan, Kagetsuchi continued on his journey toward Konoha. As he walked, he couldn't help but think about the grateful faces of the travelers he had helped. After traveling for hours, Kagetsuchi finally arrived at the gates of Konoha. As Kagetsuchi approached the gate of Konoha village, he noticed two guards from the Uchiha family standing watch. They eyed the old man with a crutch in his hand cautiously. As the old man approached the gate of Konoha village, one of the guards, Uchiha Taiko, squinted his eyes and whispered to his fellow guard, "Hey, don't you think I've seen this old man somewhere before?" Uchiha Fuiko smacked the back of Uchiha Taiko's head and reprimanded him. "Don't be an idiot. We were given a portrait of an old man to be on the lookout for, and were instructed to report any sightings to the higher-ups." "Indeed, you are correct," Uchiha Taiko suddenly realized, feeling embarrassed. "I completely forgot about it," he admitted. "Please wait here. I will inform the higher-ups about this," Uchiha Fuiko said before quickly running off to carry out the task. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi observed the other ninja leaving without interjecting or responding. In a quivering tone, Uchiha Taiko requested, "Please halt. You must, at the very least, state your name before proceeding." "I am Uzumaki Kagetsuchi," replied Kagetsuchi, without even glancing at the Uchiha ninja. As he moved forward, his Kagura heart eye allowed him to sense individuals with significant chakra and vitality. He suddenly sensed a huge amount of chakra in Konoha. Only Uzumaki Mito possessed such amount of chakra. Upon receiving news of Uzumaki Kagetsuchi's arrival, Sarutobi Hiruzen hastily proceeded to meet with him. Sarutobi Hiruzen greeted Uzumaki Kagetsuchi with a warm welcome as he gazed upon him. "Welcome to Konoha village," he said. "Is that so? However, I sense that Konoha is preparing for combat upon receiving news of my arrival," remarked Uzumaki Kagetsuchi with a composed expression. Sarutobi Hiruzen was taken aback, and felt embarrassed upon hearing Kagetsuchi's words, but he managed to maintain a neutral expression. Sarutobi Hiruzen extended an invitation to Uzumaki Kagetsuchi to accompany him to his office for a conversation. "Would you be so kind as to join me for a discussion in my office?" he asked politely, hoping to alleviate any tensions or misunderstandings that might have arisen. "There is no need for that, as I came here primarily to meet my niece. Once that is done, we can discuss official matters." Furthermore, I believe that the most powerful individual in Konoha should be my niece, Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kagutsuchi stated. Upon hearing Kagutsuchi's statement, Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression grew tense. But he persisted. I urge you to still accompany me to my office. I have already sent a ninja to inform Mito-sama, he replied, this time emitting his powerful cage-level chakra as a show of his authority. I did not ask for your invitation, Kagutsuchi retorted as he unleashed his full Ryatsu, causing a pressure that not only affected Sarutobi Hiruzen, but also every ninja in the vicinity. Stand aside, Kagutsuchi commanded with authority. Without even realizing it, Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped aside from Uzumaki Kagutsuchi's path, allowing him to move forward in the direction of Mito. At the gate of the Senju family's compound, there stood a stunning blonde-haired girl whom Kagutsuchi had finally reached. Tsunade inquired, are you Grandma Mito's uncle? Towards Tsunade, Kagutsuchi nodded. Tsunade's tone carried a hint of displeasure as she spoke, please come along with me. They began making their way to the largest house within the Senju family's compound. Do you have an opinion about me? Inquired Kagutsuchi. Tsunade's response was delivered with an air of annoyance, as she retorted, HMPH. You've killed many ninjas from our village. So surely you can't blame me for having an opinion about you, can you? Kagutsuchi chose not to say anything more, as conversing with someone who held unwavering beliefs would be futile. Upon arriving inside the room, they were greeted by the sight of Uzumaki Mito, a woman with a red hexagonal marking between her eyebrows. With a bow, Mito greeted Kagutsuchi and said, welcome uncle. Seated at the main seat in the room, Uzumaki Kagutsuchi spoke up and said, I don't believe there is any need for you to do this, as you have already renounced any allegiance to the Uzumaki family. Am I correct? Several elders from the Senju clan were also present in the room, and while they may have wanted to refute Kagutsuchi's comment about their current patriarch, Mito intervened and prevented them from doing so. I apologize, uncle, but surely you must understand that as the Jinchuriki of Konoha village, I cannot simply depart from the village at will, explained Mito. Mito, there's no need for explanations. I understand that you are prioritizing your village over your family, and that you do not wish to drag Konoha into the vortex of war. You have made your choice, said Kagutsuchi, his voice echoing throughout the Senju family compound. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had just entered the room with several important figures from Konoha, overheard Kagutsuchi's words. As the eldest and most authoritative member of the Uzumaki family, I hereby declare that you, Uzumaki Mito, will be expelled from our family, effective immediately, Kagutsuchi proclaimed. Uzumaki Mito tightly clenched her fist, but she didn't utter a single word, accepting her punishment in silence. How could you do this to Grandma? I won't let this go unpunished, I'll fight you, Senju Tsunade exclaimed, preparing to attack. However, just as she was about to move, a golden chain wrapped around her, effectively sealing her chakra and preventing her from moving. Without a word, Mito made a move. I apologize, uncle. She's just a child. Please forgive her for her rudeness, said Mito in a conciliatory tone. Just as Mito finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo, along with several others, entered the room. By the way, I wanted to ask you, are these the only members of the Senju family present here, or are there others stationed elsewhere? Inquired Uzumaki Kagutsuchi. No, these are the only people who remain in the Senju family, replied Mito. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if my memory serves me correctly, an elder from the Senju clan wanted to get rid of me because I cut off his son's hand. He sent a team of elite ninjas after me, and I killed them all, but their numbers were far greater than the people present here in the Senju clan. This is laughable, remarked Uzumaki Kagutsuchi. Uzumaki Kagutsuchi continued, furthermore, how could you allow clans like Sarutobi and Shimura to ride on your coattails and become your leaders? In the Warring States period, they were like dogs that we trained to fight for us. Upon hearing Kagutsuchi's words, the expressions on everyone's faces changed. However, Mito was not shocked by the remarks, as she knew that during the Warring States period, large clans like theirs only trained low-level clans, and used them as mere cannon fodder during battles. Danzo's face contorted with rage, and he gave Kagutsuchi a menacing stare, as if he was ready to pounce on him. Kagutsuchi noticed the anger on Danzo's face, and vanished into thin air, only to reappear directly in front of Danzo, causing the room to shake with the force of his sudden movement. Kagutsuchi then grabbed Danzo by the neck, lifting him off the ground with ease. Kagutsuchi's expression turned dark as he spoke. How dare you look at me like that? A weakling like you must value your hand very much for using ninjutsu. As a punishment for your impudence, I will take your hand. After saying that, Kagutsuchi held the right hand of Danzo and burned his right hand. Danzo let out a miserable cry that echoed throughout the Senju family compound. Kagutsuchi appeared back in the main seat in the room. Everyone in the room remained still and silent, their minds processing the events that just unfolded. Sarutobi Hiruzen was particularly taken aback, his thoughts racing as he observed the lightning-fast movements of Kagutsuchi. The concept of space ninjutsu flashed through his mind, but he had no way to confirm it. The atmosphere in the room was tense, with an eerie silence that lingered as everyone tried to make sense of what had just occurred. After regaining his composure, Sarutobi Hiruzen approached Danzo and inquired, "How are you feeling?" Through gritted teeth, Danzo replied, "I'm fine." Sarutobi Hiruzen directed his attention towards Kagetsuchi and asked if his current course of action would lead to the rupture of the alliance between their two ninja villages. Kagetsuchi retorted, "The alliance between our villages was broken the moment Konoha abandoned my Uzumaki village. Don't act as if you care about breaking the alliance now. Furthermore, I am not here to receive compensation from you, but to take back the gift given to Konoha as a sign of alliance by the Uzumaki family." Kahara Yuditane inquired, "What specifically are you referring to?" "Sensing barrier," said Kagetsuchi. Everyone present was taken aback upon hearing this revelation. However, if the barrier surrounding Konoha was truly removed, it would make it easier for other ninja villages to infiltrate Konoha, which was not in the best interest of the village. Although Konoha could create a new barrier, the quality may not match the current one, and the process of creating a new barrier was time-consuming and could take up to 2-3 months to complete. Mito finally spoke up, "Uncle, I apologize, but I cannot allow you to proceed with this." Kagetsuchi responded, "I didn't ask for your permission. This is my sole purpose for being here." Mito replied with determination, "Even if I have to use force, I will not let you pass." She readied herself for any action that might be necessary. With Mito's words echoing in his mind, Kagetsuchi discreetly instructed the system to activate Yamamoto's 60% template card. As he spoke, an immense rush of Ryatsu coursed through his being, and he sensed that he could unleash Raijin Jaka's Shikai with ease. In a mere fraction of a second, the events transpired, leaving everyone oblivious to Kagetsuchi's actions and their outcome. The mystery of what had occurred with Kagetsuchi lingered, shrouded in secrecy. As Kagetsuchi rose from his seat, he cast a calm gaze over the assembled crowd. With a subtle release of his immense Ryatsu, the atmosphere in the room changed in an instant. Unlike anything Sarutobi Hiruzen had felt before, the pressure was overpowering, leaving even the cage-level individuals in attendance struggling to maintain their composure. Weaker civilian jonins buckled under the weight of the force and were forced to kneel. The oppressive power emanating from Kagetsuchi's body enveloped the entire room, rendering all present immobile. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, a seasoned veteran of such displays, felt as though an immense weight was bearing down on his shoulders, halting his movements. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the force continued to emanate from Kagetsuchi, leaving everyone present struggling to keep their wits about them. As Kagetsuchi's overwhelming Ryatsu filled the room, Mito too unleashed her vast chakra in an attempt to counteract the pressure. However, to her surprise, her efforts were in vain. It was then that she realized that the pressure wasn't physical. It was attacking their very souls. Despite her immense power, Mito was unable to offset the force of Kagetsuchi's assault on their souls. It was a realization that sent a shiver down her spine, as she had never experienced anything like this before. The pressure weighed heavily on her soul, leaving her feeling powerless and vulnerable. As the pressure continued to bear down on the souls of those present, Mito realized that this was a level of power beyond anything she had ever encountered. It was a humbling experience, and one that left her with a newfound respect for Kagetsuchi's abilities. "It's quite regretful." Kagetsuchi expressed his deep regret, conveying his remorse in a solemn tone. He then reached for his crutch using his left hand. As he picked it up, a sudden burst of flames seemed to engulf the crutch, transforming it into Raijin Jaka with a purple handle. Kagetsuchi firmly gripped the handle of the sword, unsheathed the blade, and plunged it into the ground. Next, he lifted both his hands, causing his white shirt to flutter away, and removed his black kozode, revealing his scarred bare upper body that bore testimony to his many battles. The intense heat emanating from the fiery aura surrounding him was palpable to all who were present. Kagetsuchi then casually wielded Raijin Jaka with his right hand, unleashing a massive wave of flames that surged toward everyone in the vicinity. As Sarutobi Hiruzen witnessed the colossal wave of fire, he was filled with a sense of dread, acutely aware that if it were to make contact with his body, he would perish in an instant. Without a moment's hesitation, he swiftly formed a hand seal, creating a shadow clone of himself, which immediately sprang into action. The shadow clone deftly began executing a complex sealing, quickly followed by unleashing a powerful A-rank water ninjutsu to counter the raging inferno. Water release, exploding water colliding wave, and his real body behind the shadow clone also made seals to create earth release. Earth-style wall. Several other skilled ninjas, well versed in the art of water ninjutsu, promptly sprang into action. Each of them utilized their unique water-based techniques, which collectively resulted in a brief but crucial interruption in the progression of the searing flames. This timely intervention created a crucial window of opportunity for all those present to swiftly make their escape from the fiery inferno. Mito issued a command, her voice ringing out with a sense of urgency. "Monkey, I need you to take charge and evacuate all of them from this location. Ensure the safety of the civilians by escorting them to a secure location. I have already given orders to evacuate the civilians the moment he infiltrated Konoha, stated Saratobi Hiruzen in a firm and resolute tone, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Excellent. All of you need to leave this area immediately. It is not safe for you to engage in the upcoming battle, commanded Mito, her tone forceful and unwavering. Without hesitation, she swiftly transformed into the Four Tails form of the Nine Tails, ready to confront Kagutsuchi head-on. With lightning speed, Mito lunged forward, launching a powerful punch toward her opponent. Kagutsuchi, equally swift, utilized his Akotsu technique to meet Mito's attack head-on. The force of the impact was tremendous, and though Kagutsuchi remained steadfast, Mito's right hand was almost completely twisted, and she was hauled several hundred meters away, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake and carving out a massive gully in the ground. Even as Saratobi departed with the others, his attention remained fixated on the fierce clash between Kagutsuchi and Mito, and he continued to observe the battle with rapt attention. The onlookers were struck with a sense of sheer horror as they bore witness to the incredible display of brute strength that Kagutsuchi demonstrated by landing a devastating punch on Mito, overpowering her with apparent ease. Until that moment, many had been under the impression that Kagutsuchi relied solely on his formidable ninjutsu and kenjutsu skills, and had never fathomed the notion that the elderly man could possess the physical strength necessary to engage with a tailed beast and the Nine Tails no less. Mito rose from the wreckage, her previously injured hand rapidly regenerating before the eyes of the stunned onlookers. In what seemed like a matter of mere moments, her hand had fully healed, leaving no trace of the injury behind. With her body still transformed into the powerful four-tailed form, Mito opened her jaws wide and began to concentrate her chakra, drawing in a tailed beast bomb and swallowing it whole. As she did so, an enormous red beam of energy began to form within her maw, crackling with power and primed for launch. Kagutsuchi, aware of the impending attack, drew his sword and swung it in a mighty arc, generating a massive black shockwave that surged forth toward the incoming beam of light. The two titanic forces met in a blinding flash of energy, unleashing a massive explosion that rent the earth asunder, leaving behind a massive crater that spanned well over 100 meters in diameter. Both of them are monsters, remarked Kaharu Utatane, her voice heavy with awe and trepidation. Agreed, concurred the head of the Hyuga clan, whose face bore a similar expression of disbelief and apprehension. Indeed, the collective sentiment of the onlookers was unanimous. The sheer magnitude of destruction wrought by the initial clashes between Kagutsuchi and Mito was nothing short of awe-inspiring. As they beheld the incredible spectacle unfolding before them, they could not help but wonder what the full extent of the devastation would be once the two titans fully unleashed their power upon one another. Kagutsuchi stood facing Mito, his senses on high alert. Suddenly, he detected a shift in the ground, and instinctively used Shumpo to disappear from his location. In the blink of an eye, the spot where he had been standing was engulfed in a mass of writhing, red hands belonging to the Nine Tails. Undeterred, Kagutsuchi reappeared in a flash, this time dangerously close to Mito. Pointing a finger at her, he unleashed Had number 44 Pale Multi-Lightning spell. As the spell took effect, bolts of lightning rained down upon Mito's Four Tails form, eliciting a deafening roar from the Nine Tails. Despite the overwhelming power of Kagutsuchi's attack, however, Mito remained steadfast and resolute, bracing herself against the onslaught of lightning, with all the fury and ferocity of a cornered beast. It was clear to all present that this battle between two monsters was far from over, and that the true test of strength was yet to come. Kagutsuchi intently observed as Mito endured the relentless onslaught of thunder, which resulted in a massive explosion of dust that enveloped and obscured everything in sight. Yet, amidst the chaos, a deafening roar reverberated throughout the entire village of Konoha. In a dramatic display of strength, Mito emerged from the billowing cloud of dust. But with a notable difference, 6 tails now extended from her body, and her entire form was enshrouded in an otherworldly white bone armor. A ferocious, thunderous roar erupted from the mouth of the nine-tailed fox as it began to gather massive amounts of chakra. The chakra soon coalesced into multiple tail beast bombs, each one more volatile and destructive than the last. As the bombs completed their formation, they began to move with alarming speed in the direction of Kagutsuchi, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Back at number 81, splitting void with unwavering determination, Kagutsuchi invoked a powerful Bakudo, channeling his spiritual energy to create a formidable transparent barrier before him. The nine-tailed fox unleashed a barrage of multiple tail beast bombs upon the wall, causing a series of thunderous explosions to reverberate throughout the area. However, despite the sheer force of the blasts, Kagutsuchi remained steadfast and unscathed behind his impenetrable defense. By the gods, what kind of impenetrable defense is this? Not even the might of a tail beast bomb can leave a scratch on it, exclaimed the head of the Nara clan in awe. Indeed, I have never beheld anything quite like it in all my years, replied the head of the Akamachi clan in equal amazement. All those present were astounded by Kagetsuchi's unparalleled power and unwavering defense. However, only Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage of Konoha, fully grasped the implications of this display of strength. If Mito had knowledge of his future plans, he couldn't even begin to imagine the extent of devastation that could be wrought. The mere thought of it sent a chill down his spine, leaving him with a deep sense of foreboding. In the wake of the bombardment, the transparent barrier dissipated, leaving Kagetsuchi exposed and vulnerable to attack. At that moment, Mito surged forward and delivered a powerful punch aimed squarely at his midsection. However, with a swift and graceful movement, Kagetsuchi employed the Shumpo technique to vanish from sight, reappearing a moment later above the head of the nine-tailed fox. Summoning all his strength, Kagetsuchi unleashed a devastating blow, striking the creature's skull with incredible force. The impact was so intense that it left a massive crater in its wake, shattering the white bone armor that covered the nine-tails head. "Your efforts are futile, Mito. You are no match for me," Kagetsuchi declared confidently, his voice echoing through the clearing. "I refuse to give up," Mito replied firmly, her voice ringing out with determination. With that declaration, she began to undergo a dramatic transformation, her body convulsing as she underwent a rapid metamorphosis. Within moments, she had grown 2 additional tails, bringing the total to 8. And as her transformation continued, her white bone armor began to spread and envelop her entire body, forming an almost impenetrable exoskeleton. Without warning, a multitude of chakra hands appeared from all directions, converging upon Kagetsuchi with lightning speed. However, the Kagetsuchi was more than ready for the assault, expertly slicing through the hands with his Ryujin Jaka. As the severed appendages fell to the ground, they erupted into flames, their incineration adding to the already intense heat of the battle. The two combatants continued their fierce clash, each one unleashing their most powerful physical attacks with devastating effects. Every blow landed with bone-jarring force, leaving destruction and devastation in their wake. With each passing moment, Mito displayed her incredible prowess and skill, slowly but surely taking Kagetsuchi out of the village of Konoha. As the battle raged on, the once thriving village was reduced to a desolate wasteland of rubble and ruin. The sound of shattering stone and splintering wood echoed throughout the area, a grim testament to the incredible power of the two combatants. Despite the devastation, however, Mito remained resolute, her focus unbroken as she relentlessly pursued her opponent, determined to emerge victorious at any cost. As the long and grueling battle wore on, both Kagetsuchi and Mito found themselves standing face to face, each one struggling to gain the upper hand. Mito knew that she couldn't sustain her transformation into the nine-tailed fox for much longer, as the strain on her body was becoming increasingly unbearable. She knew that she needed to end this fight quickly, if she hoped to emerge victorious. However, as she looked across at her uncle, she couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief and shock. Despite the intensity of the battle and the toll it had taken on her own body, Kagetsuchi seemed completely unfazed, not even showing the slightest hint of fatigue. Mito was amazed at how someone as old as her uncle could possess such incredible stamina and endurance. While Kagetsuchi himself was not yet exhausted, he knew that time was running out. The effects of the Yamamoto Genryusai template card, which had boosted his power to previously unimaginable levels, were beginning to wear off. With the clock ticking down, Kagetsuchi made the decision to go all out, unleashing his full power in a final, desperate bid for victory. "Let us bring an end to this battle, Mito. Henceforth, I shall fight with all my might, so do not let your guard down." Kagetsuchi's voice was firm and resolute as he tightened his grip on his Ryujin Jaka, and he said, "Reduce all creation to ash." As Kagetsuchi's words fell, causing a massive surge of flames to engulf him, and the intensity of the heat radiating from the flames was palpable even from Konoha village. Danzo was astonished by the sheer magnitude of the temperature, his expression betraying his disbelief. "I can feel the heat from here. What must be the temperature like where they are fighting?" Homura Mitakado chimed in, affirming Danzo's assessment. "This level of heat is sufficient to incinerate regular civilians, and even Genin-level shinobi. Everyone, make sure to protect yourselves by covering your body with chakra. If you still feel any discomfort, evacuate immediately," advised Sarutobi Hiruzen, taking charge of the situation. He then instructed his subordinates, "Go and check if the heat is causing any damage to the shelters." The group followed Hiruzen's orders and quickly dispersed to take action. The heat was overwhelming, causing a sense of unease and panic to set in among the ninjas. Those who were unable to withstand the heat had already started to evacuate, seeking refuge in cooler locations. Meanwhile, Kagetsuchi had unleashed the full power of his Ryujin Jaka, and the intensity of the flames had only increased, making it even more challenging for Mito to keep up with the pace of the battle. It was clear that Kagetsuchi had surpassed his limits and was fighting with everything he had. Fortress Blaze, a massive, towering wall of searing flames, encircled Mito's nine-tailed form, creating a colossal, fiery sphere that entrapped her within it. A thunderous roar echoed across the surroundings as the outer bone and chakra body of the nine-tailed form were relentlessly burned and restored, causing immense agony to Mito. Despite being imprisoned in the sphere of flame for a minute, she was finally able to break free, but her nine-tailed form appeared visibly distressed and miserable. After experiencing the pain and healing from her injuries, Mito noticed that her size had decreased compared to before. She knew that she couldn't defeat Kagutsuchi in her current state, so she made the decision to transform into her Nine Tails form. However, in this form, she struggled to control the Nine Tails and remain sane at the same time, which is why she usually avoided using it. In this form, the Nine Tails appeared to be the same, except without any hair or skin, only muscles and bones, with the Nine Tails swinging behind her. Mito launched herself at Kagutsuchi once again, her razor-sharp claws glinting in the dim light of the battlefield. But Kagutsuchi was ready for her, deftly parrying her blows with his expert swordsmanship. The two combatants traded blows, each trying to gain the upper hand, but it seemed that Kagutsuchi was always one step ahead. Suddenly, Kagutsuchi unleashed his next move, Torch, and a massive inferno engulfed the nine-tailed fox. Mito let out a deafening roar as the flames consumed her, causing her immense pain and agony. But even in the face of this pain, Mito continued to lash out at Kagutsuchi, determined to defeat him at all costs. Despite her efforts, Mito was unable to inflict damage on Kagutsuchi with her relentless onslaught. As time passed, the flames showed no signs of extinguishing. Inside the sealed space within Mito, Kurama felt the heat and pain of the inferno as it ravaged his soul. He knew that if the fire continued, he and Mito would perish together. Desperate to save Mito, Kurama made a decision. He called out to her, his voice echoing within her mind. "Mito, if this continues, we will both be burned," he said, his voice filled with urgency. Mito was surprised to hear Kurama's voice, but she was too consumed by her anger to care. "Why do you care?" she shouted back, her voice cracking with pain. "You will be resurrected anyway after some time, so you should be happy." But Kurama knew that there was more at stake than just his own resurrection. Mito had been his companion for so long, and he couldn't bear the thought of losing her. "I don't want to die yet, so you release my seal, and I will lend you my strength," he replied with a rough voice. Mito stood there in shock, her eyes wide with surprise as she listened to the words of the nine-tailed fox. Even though he had spoken in a commanding tone, she could sense the deep care and concern that lay behind his words. For a moment, Mito was silent, contemplating what the nine-tailed fox had said. Slowly, Mito nodded her head, acknowledging the truth of Kurama's words. She knew that if they continued to fight in this way, they would both perish, and she didn't want that to happen. Without hesitation, she released the seal that had kept the nine-tailed fox locked inside her for so many years. As she did so, a surge of powerful chakra began to flow through her body, causing her to glow with an otherworldly light. Slowly, Mito began to transform once again, but this time, it was different. Instead of the usual crimson aura that surrounded her, she was now enveloped in a shimmering golden chakra that pulsed with incredible power. As the red flames covering her whole body spread from her body, everything around her was consumed in a blaze of fire. But Mito stood unharmed in the center of the inferno, using the outer layer of chakra to disperse the flames to the ground beneath her feet. Kagutsuchi watched all this. This is the first time in real life he saw the transformation of someone into Nine Tails mode. "This is unexpected," he muttered to himself, raising an eyebrow in surprise. "She can use the Nine Tails mode." Mito's eyes blazed with determination as she unleashed a barrage of 5 powerful tail beast bombs, hurling them toward Kagutsuchi with all her might. The surrounding air crackled with energy as the bombs streaked through the air, leaving a trail of fiery destruction in their wake. But Kagutsuchi was ready for her attack this time. With incredible speed and precision, he slashed his sword 5 times, each strike connecting with a tail beast bomb and cleaving it in half. The explosions were enormous, sending shockwaves rippling through the earth and shaking the very foundations of Konoha. In the heart of the village, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the other elite jonin had gathered, watching the battle from a distance. They could feel the tremors of the explosions even from where they stood, and they knew that this was a fight unlike any they had ever witnessed before. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Mito and Kagutsuchi stood facing each other once again, their eyes locked in a fierce battle of wills. Neither was willing to give an inch, and Mito knew the fate of Konoha depended on the result of this battle. Kahara Utatane's eyes widened in amazement as she watched the battle unfolding before her. She turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen, her voice tinged with awe. "Hiruzen, have you ever seen Mito-sama in this form before?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. This question was in the mind of everyone present here. Hiruzen shook his head, his eyes fixed on Mito and Kagutsuchi's struggle playing out before them. "No," he replied. "I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. And even in all my years of studying under the teacher, I have never come across any mention of such a form." Back in number 62, 100 steps fence, Kagutsuchi formed a luminous, blue-white rod of energy in his palm, and hold it towards Mito. Upon impact, the rod split into a multitude of smaller rods, descending upon Mito like a shower and trapping her against the earth, rendering her unable to move. Due to the confined space, evading the attack proved to be a daunting task. Undeterred, Mito summoned 9 adamantine chains infused with chakra from her body, using them to shatter the light rods and liberate herself. With newfound freedom, she quickly transformed into Kurama form, manifesting a colossal, translucent body of 9 tails that enclosed her entirely. As soon as the 9 tails took shape, its majestic form radiated an aura of immense power, causing the very air to tremble. With a fierce determination, it channeled an enormous amount of chakra into the creation of a tail beast bomb, whose size dwarfed all previous iterations, and whose explosive potential was unmatched. The bomb glowed with an ominous intensity, crackling with raw energy as it hurtled towards Kagetsuchi at a breakneck speed, leaving behind a trail of destruction in its wake. With a terse command of "enough playing, go to sleep," Kagetsuchi's body pulsed with an overwhelming surge of pressure, signaling the seriousness of his intent. In a swift motion, he unleashed a devastating technique known as Flames of Hell. Following Kagetsuchi's fist attack, 5 towering pillars of flame erupted from the ground, completely encircling Mito in her formidable Kurama form. The intense heat generated by the flames was almost unbearable, causing the surrounding area to glow with an orange-red hue. As the tail beast bomb hurtled towards its target with breakneck speed, it was suddenly engulfed by the inferno of fire, disappearing within the scorching blaze of the towering pillars. Mito was in a dire situation as she tried to move from her spot. However, the heat emanating from the pillars of flame was overwhelming, causing her to feel unbearable. The fire's intensity was consuming her chakra at an alarming rate, leaving her with limited options. In a last-ditch effort, she mustered her strength and channeled her power to unleash the multiple tail beast bomb once again. The powerful attack was aimed at the fiery columns, but to her dismay, as the bomb drew closer, the pillars vanished into thin air. It was as if the flames had disintegrated them into nothingness, leaving Mito in utter disbelief. Determined not to give up, Mito summoned her adamantine chains, which were covered with all 9 tails of the 9 tails. She controlled the tails with great precision and attacked the fire pillars with all her might, hoping to defeat them. However, her efforts proved to be ineffective against the intense flames. The adamantine chains could not penetrate the pillars, leaving Mito feeling helpless and uncertain about what to do next. Mito was struggling to withstand the heat and flames, while Kagetsuchi stood seemingly unfazed amidst the inferno. The scene appeared almost surreal, as though it was all an illusion. However, it was far from that. The reality was that Kagetsuchi was indeed standing amidst the flames, but they posed no threat to him. After all, he possessed Ryujin Jaka, a powerful weapon that made the fire seem like nothing more than a mere nuisance. As Kagetsuchi clutched his formidable Ryujin Jaka with a steady hand, he disappeared from his previous spot in a split second. Then, he materialized behind the 9-tailed beast with a grace that belied his immense power. The suddenness of his movement was almost startling, but his calm demeanor remained unchanged. The first killing stroke, the 9-tailed beast's translucent golden chakra body was sliced in 2 by Kagetsuchi's powerful Ryujin Jaka. A deafening roar reverberated throughout the area as the beast's body was split apart. The once radiant and imposing figure of the 9-tailed beast was now reduced to a fading shimmer of golden light that slowly dissipated into the air. As the 9 tails vanished, Mito emerged from within its form and plummeted to the ground, feeling humiliated by her defeat. The impact of her fall was jarring, and she struggled to regain her composure. Her breaths came in ragged gasps as she tried to process what had just happened. Despite the overwhelming sense of defeat, she refused to give up. With a wave of his hand, Kagetsuchi dispelled the fiery pillars that had surrounded both himself and Mito. The flames dissipated into thin air, leaving behind a trail of smoke and ash. Upon seeing the sudden disappearance of the flames, Mito attempted to rise to her feet. However, she found herself unable to do so and slumped back to the ground, feeling defeated and hopeless. "Why did you dispel the fire?" she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just let me die," she added, her words heavy with despair. The defeat she felt was overwhelming, and she could not fathom the idea of continuing the battle any longer. "You are someone who can abandon your own family, but I am not like you," Kagetsuchi spoke as he approached Mito, standing directly in front of her. "I cannot bring myself to kill my own niece with my own hands," he continued, his voice firm and resolute. "All I wanted was to punish you and the village of Konoha for their betrayal. Nothing more," he added, his gaze steady and unwavering. Despite the animosity between them, Kagetsuchi's words conveyed a sense of compassion and understanding that Mito had not expected. She remained silent, unsure of how to respond to his unexpected show of mercy. Kagetsuchi sheathed his Ryujin Jaka, and as he did, the sword transformed into a simple-looking crutch. He then adjusted his clothing, donning a black kozo that covered his upper body, and a white haori that billowed in the wind as it reappeared over his shoulder. The transformation of his weapon, coupled with his change in appearance, created an atmosphere of calm and tranquility. Mito was utterly shocked by what she had just witnessed. Kagetsuchi appeared completely unscathed, as if he had not been in a fierce battle moments ago. His clothing was immaculate, without a single tear or blemish, and there was no sign of injury or fatigue on his face. Mito couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief and amazement at his resilience. She had been fighting tooth and nail to survive, but here was Kagetsuchi, seemingly unharmed. It was a testament to his strength and power, and Mito couldn't help but feel a sense of both admiration and fear toward him. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi spoke in a firm and unwavering tone. "If my intention was to kill you, I would have done so without hesitation. I could have easily cut both you and the Nine Tails in half." His words were laced with a sense of finality that left Mito feeling unnerved. Kagetsuchi then approached her and gently touched her forehead with the tip of his crutch. He closed his eyes, and a sudden surge of energy emanated from the crutch, enveloping Mito in a bright light. The energy dissipated as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Mito feeling disoriented and confused. She could not comprehend what had just happened, and the sense of unease within her only continued to grow. Mito's confusion and unease were evident in her voice as she asked Kagetsuchi, "What did you just do?" Her gaze was fixed on him, searching for any hint of an answer in his expression. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that some part of her had been altered in some way that she couldn't quite grasp. Kagetsuchi's response was direct and to the point. "I have placed a seal on your soul. You will never be able to share any knowledge of sealing techniques with others, nor will you be able to use these techniques for others. If you attempt to do so, your soul will be consumed by flames." His words hung heavy in the air, leaving Mito feeling a sense of shock and despair. The art of sealing was one of her greatest reliance, that even if she lost and Kagetsuchi removes the barrier from the village, she can restore it with due time. But now it's impossible. Mito's head drooped in defeat as she whispered softly, "Is it not possible to forgive Konoha and let bygones be bygones?" Her heart was heavy with sorrow, and she struggled to accept the weight of Kagetsuchi's actions. The thought of being unable to use the sealing techniques that had defined her for so long was almost too much to bear. But even more than that, the idea that she could never share her knowledge with anyone else felt like a crushing blow. It was as if her entire identity had been taken away from her in a single moment. Kagetsuchi's response was firm and unyielding. "The Uzumaki clan will never forgive Konoha," he said with conviction. "You should be grateful that I spared them for the sake of our past alliance. Only their infrastructure was destroyed, and even that can be repaired with the financial resources of the Fire Country." His words were harsh, but there was no denying the truth in them. The pain and betrayal of the past ran deep, and it was not something that could be easily forgotten or forgiven. Mito let out a heavy sigh, accepting the reality that her uncle's feelings towards Konoha and towards her were unlikely to change. Despite her efforts to make amends, she knew that the wounds of the past were too deep for a simple apology to heal. Still, she took comfort in knowing that she had done everything she could to try and bridge the divide between the Uzumaki clan and their former allies. Kagetsuchi explained to Mito that her unique Kagura Heart Eye mutation, combined with the power of the Nine Tails, made it impossible for her not to sense the intense hostility directed towards her and the Senju clan. He warned her about the dangerous nature of those who can hide their true emotions, like the Hokage Danzo, and expressed concern for her well-being. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, Kagetsuchi urged Mito not to give up on her life, and not to tarnish the Uzumaki bloodline. He noticed that she had a desire to die, which troubled him deeply. Mito has since recovered and is now standing upright. Upon hearing Kagetsuchi's words, she bowed her head. Despite Hiruzen's ability to conceal his hostility, Mito could sense it, especially after experiencing the animosity from Tobirama's students. If not for the Nine Tails contaminating her Kagura Heart Eye, she may not have detected Hiruzen's malice. However, having the Nine Tails within her for many years caused her Kagura Heart Eye to mutate, allowing her to perceive the ill will emanating from Hiruzen. Mito acknowledged Kagetsuchi's statement with a nod. Mito's voice was tinged with a hint of sadness as she continued, "It is disheartening to see such animosity towards the Senju clan, especially after all we have done for the village. Hashirama founded the village, and Tobirama was instrumental in creating its infrastructure and administration. Yet, we are treated with suspicion and disdain." She paused for a moment before adding, "However, as much as it pains me to do so, I understand the importance of stability within the village. Any disruption could cause chaos and potentially harm innocent lives. Thus, I choose to bear this burden in silence, and continue to work towards a better future for all." Mito's words were filled with a sense of duty and sacrifice, as she put the needs of the village above her own personal grievances. It was a testament to her strength and character, and it was clear that her devotion to Konoha ran deep. Mito's thoughts were interrupted as Kagetsuchi shook his head, clearly disagreeing with her stance. "I understand your concerns, but I cannot help but see this as cowardice on your part. Avoiding confrontation will only allow the hostility towards the Senju clan to continue unchecked," he stated firmly. As he looked at Mito, Kagetsuchi's expression softened. "As your uncle, I wish you nothing but happiness. But as the head of the Uzumaki family, I must also consider the interests of our people. Therefore, I must inform you that from this point on, you are not permitted to enter Uzumaki country," he said with a tinge of regret. Mito's heart sank at the news. She had always felt a deep connection to her ancestral homeland, and the thought of being forbidden from returning was difficult to bear. However, she knew that Kagetsuchi's decision was not made lightly, and that it was meant to protect both her and their people. "I understand, uncle. I will abide by your decision," Mito said, trying to mask the pain in her voice. She knew that her path was now forever altered, and she could only hope that someday the rift between their families would be healed. Mito didn't say further, just further bowed towards him. With a nod towards Mito, Kagetsuchi turned and swiftly departed the area, utilizing his Shunpo to move with incredible speed. Within mere seconds, he materialized in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen and other high-ranking officials in Konoha. The sudden appearance of Kagetsuchi left everyone present stunned, and they immediately prepared themselves for any potential battle that might ensue. All eyes were fixed on the elderly man standing before them, and a hush fell over the group as they took in the awe-inspiring display of power he had exhibited only moments before. The towering pillars of fire that had erupted into the sky were a testament to his immense strength, and the heat emanating from the inferno was nearly unbearable even from the distance they stood. The sheer force of his energy was palpable, and they knew that he was not to be trifled with. As they watched him with wary eyes, the tension in the air was almost tangible. They were unsure of what his intentions were, but they knew that they could not let their guard down. The presence of such a powerful and mysterious figure was enough to put anyone on edge. Sarutobi Hiruzen, ever mindful of his position as Hokage, managed to keep his composure, despite the sudden appearance of the enigmatic Kagetsuchi. With a measured tone, he spoke up and asked, "May I inquire as to the whereabouts of Mito-sama?" Although his mind was racing with questions and suspicions, he knew that it was important to remain calm and collected in the face of such a powerful figure. As the leader of Konoha, he could ill afford to show any signs of weakness or panic. The other high-ranking officials present also maintained a stoic facade, though they too were curious about the intentions of this mysterious visitor. All eyes were fixed on Kagetsuchi, waiting for his response. "Rest assured, your Mito-sama is perfectly safe," reassured Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, his calm voice carrying across the group. Upon hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief, feeling the tension in his body release. "That's wonderful news," he replied with a hint of gratitude in his voice. Homura Mitokado and Kaharu Yutane echoed his sentiment, expressing their relief that Mito-sama had come through unscathed. As they spoke, the atmosphere in the group began to relax, the weight of their fears lifting, as they realized that their beloved leader was out of harm's way. Kagetsuchi's voice dripped with disgust and anger, causing everyone present to tense up. "How dare you even think that I would believe your lies?" he spat, his eyes blazing with fury. As he spoke, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru arrived on the scene, their eyes widening in surprise at the sight of Kagetsuchi's power. Tsunade was especially taken aback by Kagetsuchi's abilities. Though she was known for her recklessness, she was not foolish enough to believe that she could deceive such a powerful figure. Looking around at the faces of those present, she could see the panic and fear etched on their features. The only one who seemed calm in the face of Kagetsuchi's rage was Sarutobi Hiruzen, his expression as inscrutable as ever. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi spoke with a commanding tone, his words brooking no argument. "I am not here to waste time. Bring me the sealed book of Konoha, and if any of you dares to claim that it was destroyed during a battle, I will not hesitate to destroy this village completely." His eyes blazed with a fierce intensity, and everyone present could feel the weight of his power bearing down upon them. None dared to speak out of turn, and a heavy silence settled over the group as they considered their next move. Sarutobi Hiruzen simply nodded and gestured to the Anbu beside him. The Anbu nodded in response and handed over a scroll to Kagetsuchi, saying, "This scroll contains all the ninjutsu that was stored in the sealed book." Kagetsuchi took the scroll from the Anbu and scanned it briefly, his eyes flicking over the contents with practiced ease. After a moment, he rolled it up and handed it back to the Anbu. "Good," he said simply. "I will take my leave now." With an unexpected and sudden motion, he came to an abrupt stop, pivoted on his heels, and turned his gaze towards Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others. His countenance was grave and serious as he intoned, "Take heed of my words. Despite the fact that I have cast Mito out from the Uzumaki clan and barred her from her village, if any harm should come to her as a result of your actions, I will ensure that the entire village of Konoha is buried along with her." A fervent and intense surge of Ryatsu exploded from his being, enveloping everyone in a fiery inferno that singed their senses. And just like that, Kagetsuchi vanished into thin air, leaving behind a stunned and speechless crowd. As soon as Mito arrived, she overheard Kagetsuchi's words, and a surge of warmth swept over her heart. Memories of her childhood flooded her mind, where she spent countless hours playing with Kagetsuchi, who always teased and made her laugh. She was lost in thought, her mind wandering back to those carefree days when her heart was filled with pure joy. And then, suddenly, a long-forgotten smile lit up her face, the kind that was genuine and heartfelt. The people around her noticed the transformation and were moved by the radiance of her smile. It was as though they could feel the joy emanating from her soul. After a moment of contemplation, Mito regained her composure and directed her gaze towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. Before we proceed any further, there are two things I need to inform you about, began Uzumaki Mito, addressing Sarutobi Hiruzen. Firstly, my uncle placed a seal on me, which limits my ability to use sealing techniques on others. I can only use them on myself, specifically to control the power of the nine tails within me. Secondly, due to this seal, I am unable to assist you with repairing the barrier that my uncle broke. Sarutobi Hiruzen was taken aback by this revelation and turned to Mito, asking incredulously, even you, Mito-sama, are unable to break this seal. Mito responded patiently, if the seal was placed on my body through a sealing technique, I might have been able to try and remove it. However, my uncle placed the seal on my soul, and I am unable to even consider removing it. I can simply feel the presence of the seal within my soul, and nothing more. Upon hearing Mito's explanation, Sarutobi Hiruzen lapsed into deep thought. He realized that Mito was not lying, for as a cage-level powerhouse himself, he understood that the power employed by Uzumaki Kagetsuchi was intricately tied to the soul, even though he could not discern the specifics. After hearing Mito's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen can just nod helplessly. Mito adopted a warning tone as she continued, and there is one more thing I need to say. Until now, I have chosen to overlook the hostility that you and your companions have directed toward me and my Senju family. However, from this day onwards, I caution you to be aware that if even a single member of the Senju family is harmed, and I detect even a hint of your involvement, I will make sure that your entire family is buried alongside them. As Mito's words fell, despite being injured by Kagetsuchi, her aura of dominance was overwhelming. Upon hearing Mito's words, a chill ran down the spines of everyone present, particularly the Konoha F4. Mito addressed Sarutobi Hiruzen directly. I am aware that you might be wondering how I could detect hostility from you, given that you were trained to conceal your intentions, and your clan possesses the method to counter the Kagura Heart's Eye abilities of the Uzumaki clan. Hiruzen quickly responded, Mito-sama, I would never think to doubt your abilities, and my clan doesn't have such a thing. Mito shook her head and turned to face Hiruzen. Your father, Sarutobi Sasuke, had a best friend from the Uzumaki family, who possessed the rare Kagura Heart Eye. This Uzumaki taught your father how to conceal his emotions flawlessly, and in order to keep the method a secret, your father killed his friend. However, your father was unaware that the Uzumaki's summoning beast had the unique ability to communicate with its summoner from a great distance. As a result, news of the Uzumaki's death reached the clan, ultimately leading to your father's own demise. Mito's voice was calm and measured as she recounted the tale, her gaze fixed on Hiruzen. The weight of her words hung heavily in the air, and the Konoha elders shifted uncomfortably, their faces tense with unease. It was clear that Mito's knowledge of their clan's past was far-reaching, and her power was not to be underestimated. Hiruzen, in particular, felt a chill run down his spine at the mention of his father's actions and their repercussions. He knew he had made a grave mistake, underestimating Mito and her clan. Mito turned her attention to Tsunade and issued her command. Go and gather all the members of the Senju family and instruct them to construct a temporary dwelling for us to live in. Her tone was firm, yet there was a hint of kindness in her voice. Tsunade nodded, a sense of relief washing over her. It was clear that Mito's actions were driven by a sense of duty towards her clan, but she was also compassionate towards those who were loyal to her family. Tsunade was about to speak, but Mito raised her hand, cutting her off. I understand you must have many questions, but let's save them for another time. Right now, I'm exhausted, she said. Tsunade showed her wisdom by refraining from asking any further questions, and gently guided Mito away from the place. Danzo approached Sarutobi, clutching his right shoulder with his left hand, and spoke with a grave tone. Hiruzen, this situation is not good. If Mito truly possesses this level of protection for her clan, then it's highly likely that another person with the power of our sensei may emerge from the Senju family. Sarutobi Hiruzen replied, what do you suggest then? I cannot fight her, and I am not even confident in my ability to defeat her even without the nine tails. She could crush me in an instant if she were to use its power. And I implore you to cease your targeting of the Senju family from this moment forward, or else Mito-sama may take action that we will all come to regret. Hiruzen continued firmly, his voice carrying a note of warning. Kagetsuchi darted through the terrain with remarkable speed, his feet barely touching the ground as he relied on his mastery of Shunpo to propel himself forward. Despite the distance between him and his destination, the Uzumaki country, he managed to cover the vast expanse of land in a mere few hours, leaving a trail of wind in his wake. As he approached the gates of the village, he could feel the effects of Captain Yamamoto's template card wearing off. His progress had returned to its natural rate of 30.3%, and the once strong connection he had with his Zanpakuto, Ryujin Jaka, was now severed. He shook his head as he realized that his powers were waning, and this feeling was definitely not pleasant. His arrival did not go unnoticed, as the guards stationed at the gate quickly took notice of Kagetsuchi's presence. Without hesitation, they rushed towards him and greeted him with congratulations on his triumphant return. Kagetsuchi acknowledged the guards with a curt nod and uttered in a firm voice, "Kindly convey to Mitsuo that I wish not to be disturbed until I have had the chance to settle in and meet with him at my own leisure." He knew all too well that Mitsuo would be eager to see him and discuss the details of his visit to Konoha. However, Kagetsuchi was in no mood to entertain any visitors, not when he could sense the weakness in his powers. After delivering his message to the guards, Kagetsuchi swiftly made his way toward his residence, relying on his mastery of Shumpo to traverse the distance in a matter of seconds. As he entered his house, he made a beeline for the nearest chair and slumped into it, feeling the exhaustion from his journey weighing heavily on his body. Although the effects of Captain Yamamoto's template card had worn off, Kagetsuchi could still feel the lingering power of the 60% increase coursing through his body. He knew that if he could digest and internalize that power, it would propel his progress much further than his current rate of 30.3%. Thus, he delved deep into his meditation, focusing all his attention on the connection with Ryujin Jaka and attempting to recapture the feeling of power he had experienced before. He allowed his mind to become fully immersed in the process, shutting out all external distractions and devoting all his energies to the task at hand. As he continued to meditate, he could feel the Ryatsu within him pulsing and surging, gradually growing in intensity. He knew that this was a sign that his efforts were paying off, and that he was making progress toward regaining his strength. With renewed determination, he continued to meditate, his mind focused on nothing but the flow of his Ryatsu and the power of his Zanpakuto. News of Kagetsuchi's return quickly spread throughout the Uzumaki clan, and it wasn't long before Uzumaki Mitsuo, the clan head, received word of his uncle's arrival. Mitsuo was pleased to hear of his uncle's success, but he couldn't shake off the sense of unease that had settled in the pit of his stomach. He knew all too well the dangers that lurked in the world of the ninja, and the fact that Kagetsuchi had just returned from the strongest village in the entire ninja world made him anxious. When he heard that Kagetsuchi had instructed his guards not to disturb him, Mitsuo immediately became concerned. "Is he alright? Is he injured in any way?" he asked the guards. Despite his confidence in his uncle's strength, he couldn't help but worry about his safety. The guards assured him that Kagetsuchi was not injured, but had simply requested to be left alone. Mitsuo nodded in relief, but he knew that he couldn't take any chances. He immediately ordered the best ninja teams to be called in, instructing them to keep a close watch on his uncle's house, and to ensure that no one disturbed him until he was ready to meet with them. As the guards hurried off to carry out Mitsuo's orders, he couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude towards his uncle. With that thought in mind, Mitsuo settled back into his work, confident that his uncle would emerge from his seclusion stronger than ever before. As the news of the destruction of Konoha spread across the ninja world, it caused a stir among the other major villages. Many were shocked by what had transpired in Konoha. The Mizukage of the village hidden in the mist immediately dispatched a team of skilled shinobi to gather information about the situation in Konoha. The Kazakage of the village hidden in the sand sent a message of condolence to the Hokage and pledged his support in any way possible. The Tsuchikage of the village hidden in the rock was also deeply troubled by the news, but he decided to take a more cautious approach. He ordered his ninjas to be on high alert and to gather intelligence about the other villages in case they were planning to take advantage of the situation in Konoha. The third Reikage stood up with a gleam of excitement in his eyes and declared, "With the sensory barrier of Konoha broken and the village in ruins, now is the time for us to strike and seize the opportunity to attack." Mibuyuki let out a deep sigh as she observed the eagerness on the face of the third Reikage. She then spoke up, "I understand your enthusiasm, but have you considered how formidable Mito truly is? It's not that she's weak, but Kagetsuchi is exceptionally powerful. Let me ask you this. Based on the power displayed by Mito, how confident are you in defeating her?" Upon hearing Mibuyuki's words, the Reikage let out a sigh and slumped back into his chair, admitting, "Our chances of victory are less than 20%. Mibuyuki stated, "The likelihood of you being killed before killing Mito is even higher. And even if you manage to defeat her, there's still Sarutobi Hiruzen to consider. Thus, attacking Konoha would be an act of foolishness." The Reikage's expression tightened with reluctance, as he knew he couldn't endanger his villages in a pointless battle. Similar discussions were happening in the other villages as well. Although Konoha's destruction had weakened its security, the other major villages, knew that attacking Konoha would be a costly mistake. The balance of power in the ninja world was delicate, and any major conflict could lead to catastrophic consequences. It has been exactly 48 hours since Kagetsuchi retreated into seclusion, and the news of his destructive rampage throughout Konoha has quickly spread like wildfire among the ninja war participants. In light of the catastrophic event, members of the Uzumaki clan have reacted with a mix of emotions ranging from outrage and horror to relief and celebration. Upon hearing the news, the majority of the Uzumaki clan were overjoyed and cheered, pleased with Kagetsuchi's decisive action in dealing with the traitorous Konoha. However, one member of the clan, Mitsuo, couldn't help but feel a tinge of sadness upon learning that his elder sister Mito had been expelled from the Uzumaki clan. Despite his sadness, he understood that it was a necessary measure to quell any doubts or dissent among the members of the Uzumaki clan regarding Mito's betrayal. Kagetsuchi's eyes fluttered open inside his residence at that moment. He spoke, "System, show me my status bar." Ding. Generating panel name. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi template. Yamamoto GENRYKSAI 38.4% strength. Cage level, invincible, props. Raijin Jaka ability. Fire control. Upon witnessing the steady advancement of the Yamamoto Genryusai template, Kagetsuchi himself remained unsurprised, as he had anticipated its progression beforehand. Without delay, the first action he took after witnessing the template's progress was to indulge in a refreshing bath. Having laid waste to the Konoha village, he had been deprived of the opportunity to luxuriate in a comfortable bath, thus making it an even more appealing prospect now. The diligent ninja who had been entrusted with the task of guarding the perimeter of Kagetsuchi's hideout remained exceedingly vigilant, sparing no effort to ensure that nobody would disrupt Kagetsuchi's solitude. However, his concentration was suddenly interrupted by a voice that boomed from within the inner sanctum. "Go and summon Mitsuo. I want to meet him." The guard was initially taken aback by the unexpected request, but his surprise soon gave way to delight when he realized that it was none other than Kagetsuchi himself who had spoken to him. This could only mean that Kagetsuchi had emerged from his prolonged seclusion. The guard wasted no time in assenting to the command, replying with great urgency, "Certainly, I shall inform the clan head of your request without delay." With that, he sprang into action, sprinting towards the imposing Uzumaki cage building, where the clan elders and the clan head were likely to be in attendance. Half an hour later, Mitsuo arrived at Kagetsuchi's house. But he wasn't alone. Kushina followed him like a loyal companion. Kagetsuchi had already taken a refreshing bath and was seated in his peaceful courtyard with his eyes closed. "Uncle, I brought you some food. You must be hungry," said Mitsuo, presenting the delicious meal he had brought. Kushina eagerly held up a small box and chimed in, "Grandpa, I also brought you some food." Kagetsuchi beamed at the sight of his grandchild and said, "Really? Then let me have what you brought first." Overjoyed, Kushina looked at Mitsuo with a victorious expression, as if to say, "See, Grandpa ate my food first." Witnessing Kushina's expression, Mitsuo and Kagetsuchi chuckled heartily. After the meal, the three of them sat down together, enjoying each other's company. It was at this point that Kushina spoke up, saying, "Grandpa, I also want to become as powerful as you." Having heard of Kagetsuchi's legendary feats, Kushina too desired to attain such incredible power. "Is that so? Well then, I will personally train you. But be warned, I am a very strict teacher. Can you handle my training?" Kagetsuchi questioned her. "Yes, Grandpa, I can definitely handle it," replied Uzumaki Kushina with determination, her fists clenched in excitement. Mitsuo was shocked by this development. He had never imagined that Kagetsuchi would accept Kushina as his disciple. Nevertheless, he was thrilled that his beloved granddaughter would be trained by his uncle. He knew that if Kagetsuchi took her under his wing, she would undoubtedly become a formidable person in the future. "Alright, now go get some rest. Your training will commence tomorrow. I have a few important matters to discuss with Mitsuo," said Kagetsuchi, dismissing Kushina for the night. After Kushina had left the house, Kagetsuchi turned to Mitsuo and asked, "So, tell me, what is the current state of the ninja world?" Mitsuo replied, "After the destruction of Konoha, various major villages sent ninja teams to confirm the news. However, none of them dared to attack Konoha as they feared the strength of Mito." That was to be expected," nodded Kagetsuchi. "From today onwards, start producing explosive tags in large quantities and sell them to small villages, especially those with grand ambitions like Omegaka," Kagetsuchi ordered. Mitsuo was taken aback by Kagetsuchi's command. He knew that major villages controlled most of the resources, and if small ambitious villages like Omegaka had access to powerful weapons like explosive tags, the ninja world would immediately become more chaotic, especially in the Fire Country. "As you wish, Uncle. I will start working on this matter immediately," Mitsuo replied. Kagetsuchi then added, "This is just to make the ninja world more chaotic. However, the main mission that I have for you and all the elders of the Uzumaki clan is to create 9 powerful sealing tools, capable of sealing the tailed beasts for an extended period of time." Mitsuo was shocked by this revelation. "Uncle, are you planning to capture all the tailed beasts?" he asked incredulously. Kagetsuchi replied with a determined expression, "Yes. After all, The Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques are the best. Therefore, it is only fitting that the tailed beast should be sealed within members of the Uzumaki clan. It is also your task to select 8 individuals who are capable of having a tailed beast sealed within them. But, uncle, if we were to capture all the tailed beasts, we would inevitably make enemies of the entire ninja world, Mitsuo said, his tone laced with concern and uncertainty. He knew that the tailed beasts were incredibly powerful and sought after by many, but the idea of capturing them all and incurring the wrath of so many others was daunting. In the face of strength, everything else becomes useless, Kagutsuchi mused, his voice heavy with contemplation. He turned his attention to Mitsuo and posed a question. Tell me, why is it that no one dared to challenge Hashirama or show any signs of aggression until he passed away? After a moment of contemplation, Mitsuo spoke up, his voice filled with admiration. It was truly awe-inspiring to witness Hashirama's incredible strength, and the way he effortlessly played with the tailed beasts as if they were mere toys. It's no wonder that no one dared to make enemies with him, and that his mere presence was enough to deter any ninja village from attacking Konoha, or even each other. The legendary prowess of Hashirama, coupled with his mastery over the powerful tailed beasts, made him a force to be reckoned with, and his reputation as the strongest shinobi of his time was well deserved. Correct, exclaimed Kagutsuchi. Now, tell me, is it impossible for me to achieve it? No, uncle, absolutely not. I never doubted your strength, replied Mitsuo. Kagutsuchi nodded, satisfied. As you know, we have a lot of work to do, he said. Firstly, we must select direct lineage members of the Uzumaki family and teach them the secret art that I gave you. This art is powerful and must be kept within the family. Secondly, we must create 9 new sealing tools to capture all the tailed beasts. That will ensure the strength, safety, and security of our clan. Mitsuo listened intently, knowing the importance of this task. And the time limit? He asked. 6 years, replied Kagutsuchi firmly. It may seem like a long time, but the success of our clan depends on it. Failure is not an option. I understand, uncle, said Mitsuo, determination in his voice. I will do everything in my power to meet these goals and exceed your expectations. You can count on me. Kagutsuchi smiled, his faith in Mitsuo unwavering. I have no doubt that you will, Mitsuo, he said. Mitsuo bowed his head in acknowledgement of his uncle's praise. It is an honor to serve the Uzumaki family, uncle, he said, his voice brimming with sincerity. Mitsuo departed from Kagutsuchi's residence, and Kagutsuchi himself remained still, deep in meditation on his Ryujin Jaka. 4 hours later, he was alerted by a notification. __________ding. Congratulations on increasing the template by 0.01%________________________ arching his eyebrows. Kagutsuchi inquired of the system. Wasn't my template supposed to increase by 0.1% every time I meditated? _______________________ You had previously trained and lived for 100 years. But after obtaining the template card and integrating the power of Yamamoto Genryusai, it is no longer possible to increase your template at the same rate ___________________________. Upon hearing the system's explanation, Kagutsuchi simply nodded. The following morning, Kushina appeared at the entrance of Kagutsuchi's humble abode, her steps resonating with determination as she made her way toward the training grounds. Standing before the wise old master, her voice echoed with a sense of purpose as she spoke. Grandpa, I have arrived, and I am fully prepared to begin my training under your tutelage. Draped in a classic Japanese training costume, the seriousness on her face added to her already adorable demeanor. Starting today, I will personally train you, declared Kagutsuchi. But first, go and run 10 laps around my house. Kushina, being a sensible young girl, did not complain and began running dutifully as instructed. Upon completing the 10 laps, she stood before Kagutsuchi, panting heavily but determined to begin her training. Kagutsuchi then tossed a sword in front of her and instructed her to perform the basic sword techniques he was about to demonstrate. With precise movements, Kagutsuchi demonstrated the proper form, which Kushina followed diligently. Whenever she made a mistake, Kagutsuchi would gently correct her and guide her toward the correct technique. As the hours ticked by, the sun gradually rose higher in the sky, and before long, it was noon. Kushina, drenched in sweat and slightly out of breath, stood before Kagutsuchi. Noticing her fatigue, Kagutsuchi spoke up. Go and refresh yourself, then we'll have lunch. It's already prepared. Kushina immediately made her way to the bath, and after half an hour, the two sat down for a meal. Following their lunch, Kagutsuchi instructed Kushina to rest, recognizing how hard she had worked. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, her body was capable of recovering quickly, and she slept soundly until evening. When she awoke, Kagutsuchi began teaching her taijutsu, But this was no ordinary training. Utilizing chakra as a foundation, Kagutsuchi taught her the white hits technique, as it was impossible to learn the Ryatsu method in the ninja world as advised by the system. As night descended, Kagutsuchi instructed Kushina to refine her chakra before retiring for the evening. He then made his way to his own house, settling in to meditate on his Ryujin chakra. Teaching Kushina during the day and meditating at night became a routine for Kagutsuchi. 4 ninjas were swiftly jumping from tree to tree, traveling at a very fast speed towards the direction of the Uzumaki country. "Tsukumo-senpai, do you think it would be a good idea for us to go to the Uzumaki country?" asked Jiraiya. "If the fire god decides to strike us down, the ninja world would lose a handsome and powerful toad immortal like myself." Jiraiya continued to strike some peculiar poses as he spoke. Orochimaru looked at Jiraiya as if he didn't know who he was, while Tsunade approached Jiraiya and punched him in the face, sending him flying and causing him to crash to the ground. All 3 of them continued moving without waiting for Jiraiya, but he soon caught up and joined them within a few minutes. Just as he was about to speak, Tsunade cut him off and said, "Bastard, if you say something like that again, I'll send you to meet my grandfather." Jiraiya, with a look of fear on his face, stopped speaking, and the journey continued in silence. After some time, all 4 of them reached the vicinity of the Uzumaki country, and eventually arrived at the gate. As soon as they arrived, they were surrounded by the ninja of the Uzumaki country. The Uzumaki country ninja asked in a cold tone, "Ninja from the Konoha village, what are you doing here?" Upon seeing the cold attitude of the Uzumaki country ninja, Jiraiya spoke up. "It's already been 6 years since that incident happened. Even we in Konoha suffered. Can't we forget our hatred? Stop talking nonsense and state your purpose," said the leader. Tsukumo sighed after hearing the words of the Uzumaki Jonin, but he stated his purpose for coming there and said, "We came here to meet the Uzumaki cage on behalf of the Konoha village." "Captain, we must not allow them to enter the Uzumaki village," said one of the present ninjas. "No, we can't do this. Neither the Fire Country nor the Konoha village have blocked people from the Uzumaki village to do business in their territory, or banned people from entering their territory. So, morally and politically, we can't stop them," said the leader. Then, the leader turned toward the envoy from Konoha and said, "We will inform the clan head of your arrival. When he wants to meet you, you will be informed. Till then, you can stay in any hotel or inn." As Tsukumo and the rest of the group nodded in agreement to the leader's words, they were granted permission to enter the Uzumaki village. As they stepped into the village, they were met with a sight that amazed them. The Uzumaki village had grown even more prosperous than before, and some would argue that it was on par with, if not better than, Konoha. It was no secret that the village had become the largest supplier of explosive tags, giving them the ability to control the price of these valuable commodities at their own discretion. The group couldn't help but marvel at the Uzumaki village's growth and success. The leader of the ninja who had been at the gate of Uzumaki village knocked on the door to Uzumaki Fusao's office. Fusao, who was the new cage and clan head of the Uzumaki village and family, was sitting and working inside. Fusao looked at the leader and spoke, "Mitsuda, what brings you here?" "Clan head, the envoys from Konoha village have come to meet you. I have sent them to live in a hotel for now," replied Mitsuda. "Okay, inform the elders about it, and also bring all of them to the meeting room. Additionally, please bring all the envoys from Konoha village there," said Fusao. After 1 hour, everyone assembled in the meeting room of the Uzumaki village. Fusao was sitting in the center, and the elders were sitting in a U-shape around Fusao. Tsukumo, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were sitting opposite Fusao. The elders were different from before. Every elder was around 40 years old. After Mitsuo retired from the position of clan head and made his son Fusao the new clan head, the elders also retired, and new elders were appointed. "So, what is your purpose for coming to the Uzumaki village?" asked Fusao. "We came here to formally invite the Uzumaki village to participate in the Chunin exam held in Konoha village," said Tsukumo, while handing over the scroll to Fusao. "This is an official letter from the Hokage-sama." "Impossible. Do you think of us as fools? Why would we send our children to your village just to let them die?" said one of the elders. "Clan head, I also disagree. We shouldn't trust Konoha village," another elder voiced his dissatisfaction. "We will answer you after discussing it thoroughly. You may rest in the hotel," said Fusao. "No need, father. We will go to Konoha." At this time, a beautiful girl with red hair entered the meeting hall. She is none other than Kushina. "Don't be impulsive, Kushina. After discussing this, we will reach a decision. Going to Konoha is not that safe," said Fusao in a soft tone to his daughter. "I know what you are thinking, father, but this is what Grandpa told me. He said if Konoha really dared to do anything, then this time it will not be as simple as destroying the infrastructure of Konoha," she said with momentum in her words. When everyone from the Uzumaki family heard Kushina speaking Grandpa, they understood it was Kagutsuchi. As Kushina only calls Kagutsuchi Grandpa, and she teases Mitsuo by calling him Small Grandpa. Fusao then looked towards Tsukumo and the rest of the group, his gaze determined, and spoke with conviction. "Okay? we shall indeed participate in the upcoming Chunin exam. However, before we proceed, we must finalize our selection of candidates. I kindly request all of you to be patient as we work towards this crucial decision. Tsukumo, acknowledging the importance of the matter, responded, yes, we understand the need to finalize the candidates promptly. I urge you to accomplish this task by tomorrow, as we are scheduled to depart for Konoha. The Chunin exam is a mere 4 days away, leaving us no choice but to depart tomorrow. Assuring his team, Fuso stated confidently, do not worry. By tomorrow, we will diligently select all the candidates and be fully prepared to depart at a moment's notice. Fuso then shifted his focus towards Mitsuda and directed him, Mitsuda, I entrust you with the responsibility of showcasing the wonders of the Uzumaki village to our esteemed guests. Mitsuda, assuming his role with enthusiasm, replied, yes, please follow me. Tsukumo nodded in approval, acknowledging Mitsuda's offer, and added, please lead the way. With their objectives set, Tsukumo, accompanied by Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade, gracefully exited the meeting room, their minds filled with anticipation and determination. Shortly after their departure, Mitsuda redirected his attention towards Tsukumo and the others, his voice firm yet respectful, as he made his request. I kindly request that you remove the ninja forehead protectors, my honored guests. Jiraiya, perplexed by the request, interjected, but why? The forehead protectors proudly symbolize our identity as esteemed members of the prestigious Konoha village. We wear them with pride and honor. Mitsuda, his gaze unwavering, explained his reasoning. I understand the significance your village places on the forehead protectors. However, the very reason I request their removal is that they identify you as members of the Konoha village. I must be honest with you, the people of the Uzumaki village hold no respect for your village. Instead, they feel a sense of disgust. If you wish to freely explore the Uzumaki village without encountering disdain on the faces of its inhabitants, I advise you to remove your forehead protectors. They still hate us this much, said Jiraiya. Mitsuda spoke up, his voice tinged with bitterness. The attacks from other major villages were not a surprise to us. We knew that they feared our sealing ability and our enemies, especially because we are allies with Konoha village. If we had chosen to sell the sealing techniques and send ninjas to their village to become Jinchuriki, they wouldn't view us as enemies. But the cruel irony is that Konoha village, whom we believed to be our ally, betrayed us. It hurt the most. What do you think? We could have achieved this level of prosperity before. It's not that we couldn't have. However, because we treated Konoha as our ally, we refrained from selling many explosive tags to other villages and fulfilled our obligations as allies. Yet, Konoha abandoned us without a second thought. If it hadn't been for Elder Kagutsuchi, we would have perished. So, this deep-rooted hatred cannot be resolved so easily. He explained, his voice filled with a mix of frustration and sorrow. After Mitsuda's passionate words, a heavy silence fell over the group. Tsukumo spoke up, his voice filled with understanding. We comprehend your point, and I must admit that I cannot change the past. However, we are sorry. We cannot remove our ninja forehead protectors. They are an integral part of our identity. Instead of evading the hate, it's better for us to confront it, he stated, offering a sincere smile. As you wish, Mitsuda replied. With that, he took them all on a tour of the village, showing them its various aspects. As Mitsuda had predicted, upon seeing the Konoha forehead protectors worn by their visitors, the locals couldn't hide their disdain. Nevertheless, they maintained a basic level of decorum. At that moment, Mitsuo found himself engrossed in fishing by the peaceful seashore. Suddenly, his tranquil state was interrupted by a familiar voice calling out, Small Grandpa. There you are. I've been searching for you everywhere. Mitsuo's face twitched, a mixture of annoyance and affection. He couldn't help but respond, Kishina, my dear, how many times must I kindly ask you not to refer to me as Small Grandpa? Alas, my words seem to fall on deaf ears. And I've told you many times that since you're weaker than Grandpa, you're Small Grandpa, retorted Kishina, hanging around Mitsuo's neck with a playful smile. So, what is it that brings you here, my dear small granddaughter? Mitsuo asked warmly, a smile gracing his face. Kishina responded with excitement. Oh, you won't believe it. A ninja team from Konoha arrived today, extending an invitation to our Uzumaki village to participate in the Chunin exam. And guess what? Grandpa has graciously agreed to let the younger generation take part in it. He specifically asked me to deliver the news that you will be the leading representative from our Uzumaki village. Mitsuo's smile widened as he replied, well, if Uncle has given his approval, then there's no problem at all. In fact, he even granted me permission to meet my elder sister by sending me to Konoha. I couldn't be happier. Okay, let's go and meet Uncle, said Mitsuo. Do you want to come with me to meet your beloved Grandpa? Asked Mitsuo, extending an invitation to Kishina. Her face brightened up as she replied, yes, I am also excited to see Grandpa. He called me earlier. With enthusiasm, Mitsuo and Kishina set off toward Kagutsuchi's house. Meanwhile, Kagutsuchi remained seated on a chair, deep in meditation, focusing his thoughts on Ryujin Jaka. Ding. Congratulations on increasing the template by 0.01%. Gradually, Kagetsuchi opened his eyes and addressed the system with a calm tone. System, show me my character panel. Ding. Generating panel name. Uzumaki Kagetsuchi template. Yamamoto Genryusai, 60.3% strength. Super cage level invincible. Props. Ryujin Jaka ability. Fire control. Kagetsuchi nodded in satisfaction, pleased with his current progress. Suddenly, a voice resonated from outside, announcing the arrival of a familiar person. Grandpa, I have arrived. It was Kushina, who couldn't contain her excitement and proclaimed her presence even before stepping foot inside Kagetsuchi's residence. Kagetsuchi's face lit up with joy upon seeing Kushina enter his house. Playfully, he flicked her forehead and spoke affectionately, "You are not a child anymore, but you still behave like one." Pouting, Kushina responded, "That's only when I'm around you, and I will forever be your little child, won't I?" "Yes, you will always be a child to me," Kagetsuchi affirmed, a warm smile adorning his face as he gently patted Kushina's head. At that moment, Mitsuo arrived, joining the gathering. With a touch of concern, he addressed Kagetsuchi, "Uncle, you have spoiled her too much. She doesn't even listen to anyone except you. I don't know what will happen in the future, and who will marry her, such a girl with a fiery temper." At that precise moment, Fuzo gracefully stepped into Kagetsuchi's house and respectfully bowed towards him, addressing him as great uncle. Kagetsuchi acknowledged Fuzo's gesture with a nod and inquired, "Have you allowed them to explore the vast Uzumaki village?" Fuzo replied affirmatively, saying, "Yes." Despite enduring a fair amount of disdain, they persisted and ventured throughout every corner of the Uzumaki village. It's understandable, as they must have been assigned a mission to monitor all the developments in the Uzumaki village. For a ninja, their mission takes precedence even if they have to endure abuse along the way, said Kagetsuchi. He continued, "What about the other candidates who are accompanying Kushina to Konoha village?" "There are two individuals, a boy named Uzumaki Hiroshi and a girl named Uzumaki Sakura. Both of them have also been trained as future Jinchuriki. They excel in sealing techniques and fire-based secret techniques," replied Fuzo. Kagetsuchi, after a contemplative pause, nodded approvingly and further inquired about their prowess. "Tell me, Fuzo, how do they fare in terms of strength?" "With undeniable prowess. They each emerged victorious in one-on-one combat against an elite Shunin merely 2 months ago. Moreover, if they were to unite their formidable abilities, they possess the capability to vanquish even a highly skilled special jonin," Fuzo confidently replied. "Excellent," Kagetsuchi expressed, a glint of pride evident in his eyes. His words resonated with optimism. It appears that the upcoming generation shows tremendous promise. Mitsuo and Fuzo smiled upon hearing Kagetsuchi's words. Kagetsuchi then turned his gaze towards Kushina and spoke, "Now, I give you a crucial task. Conquer both Hiroshi and Sakura individually in intense one-on-one battles, and subsequently challenge and triumph over them when they combine their forces. Given your formidable jonin-level prowess, this endeavor should present no challenge for you." "I will definitely complete this task," Kushina replied firmly. Mitsuo and Fuzo, recognizing the strategic intent behind Kagetsuchi's directive, nodded in unison. They comprehended that Kagetsuchi aimed to amplify Kushina's reputation, ensuring her indisputable position as the future clan head, while simultaneously cultivating unwavering loyalty among their ranks. Then, Kagetsuchi called for Kushina and gently placed his hand on her forehead. As soon as his hand made contact with Kushina's forehead, an immense surge of fiery ryutsu emanated from him, causing almost everyone in the Uzumaki village to sense it. Even Tsukumo and his team, who were currently gathered in a room conversing, could feel the overwhelming spiritual pressure. Orochimaru remarked, "There's no need to confirm if that old monster is still alive. This level of pressure can only come from him." All the individuals in the room nodded solemnly, their eyes filled with a mixture of awe and apprehension. When they were dispatched to the Uzumaki country, they were given 3 primary missions. The first was to extend invitations to the people of Uzumaki country for the upcoming Chunin exams. The second objective was to meticulously document the progress and advancements in the Uzumaki country. Lastly, and most importantly, they were tasked with verifying whether Kagetsuchi was still alive. Within Kagetsuchi's house, he withdrew his hand from Kushina's forehead and spoke, "I have imbued my power within you. Whenever you face danger, this mark will automatically activate to protect you." At that moment, a small crimson vortex materialized on Kushina's forehead, serving as a visible symbol of the seal. After talking for a few more minutes, Kushina left Kagetsuchi's house and went to complete the task given by Kagetsuchi to defeat Uzumaki Hiroshi and Uzumaki Sakura. After Kushina left, Mitsuo and Fuzo stayed to talk about the future of Uzumaki village. "So, what is the current situation of Ninja World?" asked Kagetsuchi. "After we started selling explosive tags, the number of wars between small countries have increased. Some even perished in those wars. And now it seems the Rain Village has accumulated enough power, as they are constantly conflicting with Konoha, as if deliberately trying to find fault and start a war," said Fuzo. "And I believe that the main reason why Konoha is conducting the exam is to show their formidable power to the whole ninja world," added Mitsuo. Kagetsuchi nodded after hearing the words of Mitsuo and Fuzo. you are right about this. And I believe that after the Chunin exam, it is more likely that the Second Ninja World War will officially begin. Then Kagetsuchi continued, so start preparing from now, although I will make a move to capture all the tailed beasts. But you have to show me the power accumulated by the Uzumaki village. I don't want to see such a scene again where the whole Uzumaki family is supported by only one person. Yes, uncle, we will not disappoint you. We will show the results of our cultivation and accumulation of the resources. You just have to order and we are willing to fight wherever you point us, said Uzumaki Mitsuo. Yes, Grand Uncle, we will prove to you that even without your help, at least we can make any major village suffer heavy losses, said Fuso. I like both of your enthusiasm and confidence. Okay, you may leave now as you have to prepare for tomorrow, as tomorrow Kushina with the Mitsuo will be departing for Konoha, said Kagetsuchi. Both Mitsuo and Fuso nodded and left the house. On the same day in the evening, the news of Kushina defeating two rising genius of the Uzumaki family spread like a wildfire. In this battle, however, Kushina never used the secret technique of fire. She simply defeated both Hiroshi and Sakura, and Kushina won just by using her proficiency in white hits. Hatake Tsukumo and his team also learned a feat when they heard that defeated the ninja, who at the very least has the strength of elite Chunin, and they are sure that Kushina definitely has the strength of elite Jonin. The next morning, Tsukumo and his team assembled at the gate of the Uzumaki village, waiting for the Uzumaki village team to arrive. Finally, after a half-hour wait, the team from the Uzumaki village arrived, led by Mitsuo. Following them were participating ninjas Kushina, Sakura, Hiroshi, and the elders of the Uzumaki village. Tsukumo asked, "Shall we begin our journey?" "Wait a minute, my father is coming with my grandfather," said Kushina. Tsukumo simply nodded, and at that moment Kagetsuchi arrived with Fuso. Kagetsuchi stood there quietly, not releasing his Ryatsu, yet everyone could feel the pressure in his presence. He stepped forward and handed a sword to Kushina, saying, "This sword was my companion for a long time during my youth. Today, I am giving it to you. I hope you will cherish it properly." Kushina accepted the sword from Kagetsuchi and replied, "Don't worry, Grandpa. I will honor this sword, and with me, it will become famous. I promise you that." Kagetsuchi nodded and then looked at Sakura and Hiroshi. "Now go and let the whole ninja world know how powerful the younger generation of the Uzumaki village is," he said. "And you don't have to fear anything. Do what you want. As long as you don't cross the line, I will be your biggest supporter. No one in the entire ninja world would dare to touch you. If they do, there will be only one outcome, and that is death," Kagetsuchi said in a commanding tone. Hearing Kagetsuchi's words, Sakura and Hiroshi were filled with enthusiasm. After this, Mitsuo led the participants along with Tsukumo and his team, and they set off for Konoha. They encountered no problems on the way and moved without any hindrance. The main reason for their smooth journey was Orochimaru, who always took the lead and swiftly dealt with any fools who tried to hinder their path, such as bandits. Finally, after traveling for a day, they arrived at Konoha village. Tsukumo said, "Follow me. I will take you to meet the Hokage." Mitsuo nodded and followed Tsukumo to the Hokage building, and then to the Hokage's office. Tsukumo knocked on the door, and a mature voice from inside said, "Come in." Tsukumo entered with everyone, and inside the Hokage's office, Hiruzen sat in the middle, surrounded by key figures of Konoha. Hiruzen looked at the people from the Uzumaki village and smiled, saying, "I am very grateful that you accepted our invitation and came to participate in the Chunin exams." In the corner, Danzo huffed. "It seems you have a problem with our arrival," Mitsuo said, releasing his cage-level chakra. As in Uzumaki, his chakra was even more potent, causing cracks in the furniture present in the Hokage's office. Danzo was the individual who felt the most intense pressure from Mitsuo. "I deeply apologize for the rude behavior displayed by our side. Rest assured, such misconduct will not occur again," Hiruzen expressed, attempting to appease Mitsuo. Mitsuo eased the pressure and nodded in Hiruzen's direction before stating, "It is imperative that you maintain strict control over your subordinates, or else I wouldn't mind taking further action, such as removing his other hand, which my uncle left behind." Upon hearing Mitsuo's words, Danzo's face contorted in anger as he clenched his fist tightly. Unfazed by Danzo's enraged expression, Mitsuo continued, "Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Uzumaki Mitsuo, the former clan head of the Uzumaki clan. I have arrived as the Jonin leader from the Uzumaki village." The words of Mitsuo left everyone present in the Hokage office astounded. They had not anticipated that the former clan head of the Uzumaki clan would personally visit Konoha. Mitsuo then directed his attention towards Kushina and stated, "She is Uzumaki Kushina, my beloved granddaughter, and also the apprentice of the fire god. And these two, Sakura and Hiroshi, will be participating in the Chunin exam." The people in the Hokage office hadn't even recovered from the news that the former clan head of the Uzumaki clan had arrived personally. Mitsuo dropped another bombshell by revealing that Kushina was the apprentice of the fire god. They remembered the magnitude of destruction caused by Kagetsuchi, and they made the decision to announce to their respective clans to avoid any conflicts with this girl. Hiruzen also intended to make the ninja community aware and cautioned them not to offend Kushina. Kushina, Sakura, and Hiroshi respectfully greeted the others present in the office. "Please proceed to the Senju clan as Mito-sama is waiting for your arrival," said Hiruzen. Upon hearing these words, Mitsuo also grew eager to reunite with his elder sister, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. At that moment, a ninja from the Senju clan stepped forward and said, "Please come with me. I will guide you to the Senju family compound, where Mito-sama is eagerly awaiting your arrival." After nodding in acknowledgement to the Senju ninja, Mitsuo and his team from the Uzumaki family followed the ninja and left the Hokage's office. After Mitsuo departed, Tsukumo reported on what he had witnessed in the Uzumaki village. He confirmed that Kagutsuchi was still alive, and by observing him, it could be concluded that his strength had not diminished at all. On the contrary, it seemed to have further increased. The person most filled with regret was Danzo. He had hoped that Kagutsuchi might have passed away from old age, allowing him to seek revenge on the Uzumaki village. Mito sat quietly on the tatami seat, awaiting the arrival of the team from the Uzumaki village. As soon as the team entered the Senju clan compound, she was able to sense the familiar chakra of her brother among them, and a smile appeared on her face. Finally, Mitsuo and the others arrived inside the room where Mito was waiting. Mito waved her hand and the ninja from the Senju clan left the room. With an emotional voice, Mitsuo said, "It has been a long time, sister." After a few minutes of silence, Mito finally broke the silence and asked, "How is uncle doing right now?" Mitsuo replied, "He is doing fine." Then he pointed toward Kushina and said, "Do you remember her?" Mito pondered for a moment and then said, "Is she Kushina? She has really grown up. The last time I saw her, she was just 2 years old. Come, give me a hug." Mito embraced Kushina. At that moment, Tsunade also arrived and witnessed Mito hugging Kushina. Seeing Tsunade, Mito released Kushina and asked everyone to take a seat. Then she turned towards Tsunade and inquired, "What did Monkey ask of all of you?" Tsunade replied, "He simply inquired about the situation in the Uzumaki village, and whether Uzumaki Kagutsuchi is still alive. He also asked about the strength of the participants in this Chunin exam." Mito nodded after listening to Tsunade's words. Then she turned towards Sakura and Hiroshi and remarked both of them seemed promising. At the very least, they had the potential to become elite jonin. They all began to converse casually, and after a few minutes, noticing that Kushina was becoming bored, Mito asked Tsunade to take her on a tour of the village, accompanied by Hiroshi and Sakura. However, Hiroshi didn't want to feel out of place in a group of girls, so he decided to explore the village on his own. Nodding in agreement, Tsunade took Kushina, along with Sakura, around the village. They strolled leisurely, enjoying the sights, engaging in shopping, and treating themselves to various delectable delicacies. Eventually, as they continued their exploration, Tsunade's eyes caught sight of a casino. Excitedly, she halted and exclaimed, "Come with me. I'll show you my gambling skills as the granddaughter of the gambling god." Wearing a self-assured smile, she firmly grasped Kushina's and Sakura's hands, and guided both of them inside the casino. "But Sister Tsunade, isn't gambling considered inappropriate for a ninja?" asked Kushina. Tsunade simply scoffed at this and replied, "These rules were established by some old-fashioned ninjas. We are young and should be bold enough. Come, I'll show you my gambling skills." With that, Tsunade initiated the gambling session involving Kushina and Sakura. An hour later, outside the casino, Tsunade was shouting, "You're all cheaters. You're playing unfairly." Observing this, Kushina's face twitched as she tried to calm Tsunade down. After soothing Tsunade, she sat there with a saddened expression. At that moment, Kushina playfully remarked, "You truly are the granddaughter of the gambling god. You showcased your skills without even winning a single bet. Even an amateur like me won 3 times. Kushina covered her mouth with her hands to suppress her laughter, while Sakura also stifled her amusement. Hearing Kushina's words, Tsunade became even more despondent. At that moment, a voice emerged from behind them, asking, "What are you both doing here?" It was none other than Jiraiya. Kushina responded, "We came here with Sister Tsunade. She lost all her bets and became sad. It's normal. Everyone in the Fire Country knows that Tsunade always loses her bets. That's why people have given her the nickname Fat Sheep," remarked Jiraiya. Kushina wanted to inform him that Tsunade was right behind her, but before she could speak, Jiraiya continued, "She's just a woman with big breasts and no brains. That's why she doesn't win. If it were me, I would have become a gambling god by now. But I'm not interested in all this. I'm only interested in gathering materials for my work." Jiraiya kept talking, unaware that Tsunade was sitting right there, with Kushina and Sakura in front of her, shielding her from his view. At that moment, both Kushina and Sakura felt a surge of murderous intent emanating from behind them. They quickly moved away. As soon as they did, Jiraiya saw Tsunade clenching her fist, her anger evident on her face. The words died in Jiraiya's mouth as he started sweating profusely. He stammered, Tsunade, you're here. What I just said was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. He began to back away from his original position. Tsunade stood up and with a thunderous shout that echoed throughout Konoha, she exclaimed, you bastard. She threw a powerful punch at Jiraiya, sending him flying 3 houses away. Both Kushina and Sakura briefly mourned for Jiraiya's fate. After that incident, Tsunade, Kushina, and Sakura returned to the Senju compound. At the gate of the Senju clan, Hiroshi was standing, engaged in a conversation with Senju Nawaki. They had coincidentally met when Hiroshi was wandering around the village. Curiously, they followed Tsunade and the others on their way back to Mito's room. Finally reaching the room, Mito and Mitsuo were engrossed in their discussion. As everyone returned, Mito and Mitsuo nodded in acknowledgement. However, when they caught a whiff of alcohol emanating from Tsunade, Kushina, and Sakura, they frowned. Mito asked, what were you all doing? And where were you 3? Upon hearing Mito's question, Tsunade, Kushina, and Sakura lowered their heads. At that moment, Kushina shifted the blame onto Tsunade and said, it was Sister Tsunade who dragged us to the casino against our will. We never wanted to go. Mito gazed at Tsunade with a sense of helplessness and slight exasperation. When will you ever quit your incessant gambling habit? It seems you haven't even once entertained the thought of giving it up. And yet, you persist in clinging to it, she remarked, her tone tinged with a mixture of concern and frustration. In response, Tsunade playfully stuck out her tongue, a mischievous twinkle in her eyes. Observing Tsunade's carefree antics, Mito sighed softly and shook her head in a gesture of mild resignation. You all must be tired, go and have rest, she suggested, her voice carrying a touch of motherly concern. Okay? Dear Grandma Mito and Small Grandpa, Kushina chimed in, her voice filled with a mix of affection and playful teasing, as she swiftly darted away, her footsteps echoing through the corridors. Wait, you promised you wouldn't call me that, Mitsuo called out, his gaze fixed on the receding figure of Kushina. Kushina swiftly pivoted on her heels, shooting a mischievous glance at Mitsuo, before playfully sticking out her tongue in his direction. With an impish grin adorning her face, she sprinted away with increased speed, her laughter trailing behind her. Mito burst into laughter, her amusement resonating through the room. Ha ha ha, Small Grandpa, she exclaimed, unable to contain her mirth. Mitsuo, wearing a warm smile, gently shook his head in response. Why does she call you Small Grandpa? Mito inquired curiously. Mitsuo's smile widened, and he replied with a hint of fondness in his voice. Well, you see, she calls our uncle Grandpa, and since I'm younger and physically less imposing than him, she affectionately bestowed upon me the nickname of Small Grandpa. His words were accompanied by a helpless smile, reflecting the playful dynamics of their familial bond. The days passed like this, and finally, the day of the Chunin exam arrived. Today, with the opening speech of the Hokage, the first round of the Chunin exam will be held. Kushina, along with others, reached the Chunin exam venue where the Hokage was going to give his speech. There were quite a lot of people, mostly students from the Ninja Academy, as well as participants from other villages, who were going to take part in the Chunin exam. After half an hour, the Hokage, along with advisors and other clan heads, arrived at the venue. Once the Hokage and others settled in their seats, a Jonin went to the podium and started speaking. Good morning, everyone. I thank you all for joining us in this Chunin exam event, and a special thanks to all the ninjas from other villages for attending this event. As we all know, there are many who have participated in this Chunin exam, and to announce the rules of this exam, I would like to invite a beloved Hokage-sama, who is also the strongest Hokage present to date, and has mastered all 5 chakra nature ninjutsu. He is known by the world as the Professor. The students of the Ninja Academy had looks of respect and reverence on their faces. Hiruzen also smiled after hearing the words of the Jonin, and just as he was about to stand up, he suddenly heard something. Kushina tried to stifle her laughter, but it escaped in muffled bursts that caught the attention of those around her. When Kushina saw others looking at her, she stopped suppressing her laughter and burst out laughing, saying, ha ha ha. At that moment, a young boy with yellow hair who was standing beside Jiraiya, and also had a smile and look of respect towards the Hokage, after listening to the words of the Jonin, frowned and asked, Miss, I don't think there was anything funny. If you are laughing at a joke, then please share it with all of us, so that we can laugh too. Laughing at a time like this is disrespectful and hurts the sentiments of others. Isn't this funny? He is crowned as the strongest Hokage just because he has mastered all 5 chakra natures. But this was also accomplished by both the first Hokage and the second Hokage. They even mastered unique ninjutsu of their own. The first Hokage had the wood release, and the second Hokage had the flying thunder god technique. Additionally, almost more than half of the ninjutsu in the Seal Book of Konoha was created by the second and first Hokage, said Kushina. Although this statement was made by Kushina, it was a sentiment shared by everyone present, who had experienced the era of Hashirama and Tobirama, especially the elders and clan heads of the large clans. Hearing Kushina's words, Minato also became speechless. He didn't know how to counter her remarks. At that moment, Jiraiya patted his shoulder, calming him down. Hiruzen then approached the podium and spoke. What Kushina said is absolutely true. As a student of the second Hokage, Tobirama, and having been taught by the first Hokage, Hashirama, I am well aware of their strength. There is no doubt that they are more powerful than me. My mentor teachers are much more powerful than I am. Although it seemed as if Hiruzen felt nothing, deep inside his heart, he had already cursed Kushina numerous times. His plan was simple. By presenting himself as the strongest Hokage and gradually overshadowing the reputation of the previous Hokage, he could establish himself as the most powerful Hokage in the eyes of the current generation. Even though the older generation knew the truth, they would not openly oppose him as the Hokage. With the approaching war, it was evident that the older generation would inevitably participate, and somehow, he would ensure their disappearance, securing his position as the strongest Hokage. However, due to Kushina's intervention, he was forced to publicly admit that he was weaker than the first Hokage, thereby ruining his plan. Now, let's discuss the rules of the Chunin exam. The first round will be a written exam, which you have already completed. The rules for the second round will be announced, said the Hokage with a smile. Finally, after talking about the Will of Fire, Hiruzen also left the podium, and after that, the Jonin Ninja announced the end of today's opening ceremony, and told them that the first round will be held in the afternoon, and left in the direction where Hiruzen and others left. At this time there were only Genins left who came to participate in this Chunin exam. One of the girls came near Kushina and spoke, "You really are brave, and don't fear speaking against Hokage standing in Konoha." After hearing the words of the girl, everyone perked their ears and listened, even Minato was listening to it. "Why should I fear him? Rather, he would always protect me because if something happened to me then he knows that my grandpa will bury the whole Konoha," said Kushina in a disdainful tone. The girl covered her mouth, suppressing her smile, and said with a smile, "Who is your grandpa?" "His name is Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, also known by the world as Fire God, and in your Konoha, he is known as the Hell Demon," said Kushina with pride. After hearing Kushina's words, everyone present was horrified, as they knew very well how powerful that guy really was. Subconsciously, they moved away from Kushina, not wanting to interact with or offend her in any way. Upon witnessing the behavior of everyone present, Kushina wasn't surprised. Almost everyone outside the Uzumaki country fears her grandpa, and according to her, this clearly shows how powerful he really is, as people only fear the strong. Kushina didn't bother anyone and turned around, leaving the venue. She headed towards the location where the first round of the Chunin exam is scheduled to be held. Sakura and Hiroshi followed behind her. The students began to gather at the exam venue for the first round of the Chunin exam, and Kushina was among them. At that moment, Jiraiya, who was in charge of the first round of the Chunin examination, arrived. The first round was a written exam, and the questions were easy for Kushina, Sakura, and Hiroshi. They completed the exam within 20 minutes, despite having an hour to finish, and left after submitting their papers. Finally, the results of the first round were announced and posted on the walls. Namikaze Minato ranked first, while Uzumaki Kushina came in second, and Sakura and Hiroshi third and fourth respectively. Kushina glanced at Minato with appreciation, although she didn't expect anyone to rank above her. However, it wasn't too surprising, and she became slightly frustrated. Just then, she heard the sound of quarreling, and turned around to see a group of people who were dissatisfied with the rule that if anyone from their team failed, the entire team would be disqualified. The dissatisfaction escalated into a quarrel. As the argument unfolded, a potent and intimidating, murderous aura locked onto everyone present. Those who had been quarreling suddenly found themselves drenched in cold sweat, overcome by fear. Anyone who has been deemed disqualified should leave the venue immediately, or else I won't hesitate to eliminate you all and rid the world of trash, Orochimaru declared, his murderous aura still palpable and affecting everyone present. Upon hearing Orochimaru's words, those who had been disqualified hastily left the exam venue, as if a venomous snake was chasing them, ready to devour them whole. As everyone departed, Orochimaru scanned the remaining audience and noticed Minato, who had been affected by his murderous aura, but still retained the ability to move. Continuing his gaze, he then saw Kushina, who appeared entirely unfazed, standing with ease. It dawned on him that she was a disciple of Uzumaki Kagetsuchi, and even he himself felt pressure in the presence of that man. For Kushina, who had trained under Kagetsuchi, Orochimaru's murderous aura would be like a gentle breeze. After the disqualified ninjas had left the venue, Orochimaru dissipated his murderous aura and announced, "The second round of the Chunin exam will take place in the Death Forest. Follow me." With those words, Orochimaru swiftly departed at high speed, and the Genin participants followed in his direction. Orochimaru's pace was so rapid that they struggled to keep up with him. However, Kushina remained close behind Orochimaru, maintaining a tight pursuit. Just a few meters behind her was Minato, and beside him was Sakura and Hiroshi, trying their best to keep up. Finally, they arrived at the Forest of Death, but upon reaching their destination, they noticed a group of Chunin ninjas from Konoha already waiting there. As all the contestants gathered, the Chunin ninjas began distributing scrolls to each participant. Some scrolls had heaven written on them, while others had earth written on them. Confusion filled the air, prompting Orochimaru to address the perplexed contestants and explain the rules of the exam. To pass the second round, Orochimaru declared, "You must possess both an earth and a heaven scroll. Within the next 2 days, make your way to the central building within the Death Forest while holding both scrolls. Those who accomplish this will qualify, while the others will be disqualified." Upon hearing Orochimaru's words, an uproar ensued among the contestants. Only 20 teams had qualified for the second round, and by the conclusion of this stage, only 10 teams would remain in the competition. As Orochimaru announced the rules, a Chunin ninja stepped forward and handed Kushina a scroll with heaven written on it. While giving her the scroll, the Chunin ninja smiled and asked, "Are you truly the granddaughter and disciple of the fire god?" Kushina and her team members frowned upon hearing the question. Kushina sensed the hostility lurking behind the smile, but she decided to play along and responded, "Yes, I am." Upon hearing Kushina's affirmation, the Chunin ninja's face twisted into a ferocious expression. In a sudden burst of aggression, he drew out his kunai and launched an attack. However, due to his nervousness, he only managed to sever Kushina's arm, without inflicting a fatal injury. With a thud, Kushina's left hand fell to the ground. First of all, no one expected that anyone would dare to attack Kushina, as they had received orders from the Hokage not to offend anyone from the Uzumaki clan, because they couldn't afford it. When they saw someone attacking Kushina, their minds went blank, and they were left speechless. A look of fear started appearing on everyone's faces from Konoha. One of the Chunin ninjas spoke, "Have you gone mad? Do you not know her identity?" Another Chunin said, "Are you trying to kill us all? Do you not know the consequences of your actions?" Orochimaru also lost his calm. His hands were shaking. 6 years ago, he had witnessed the amount of destruction caused by Kagetsuchi, and at that time, he showed mercy and spared everyone. But this time, consumed by rage, he couldn't help but shiver at the thought of what might happen. Finally, the Chunin in question spoke, "I don't care. Whatever you say, I don't care. I only know that my elder brother and father died at the hands of that bastard hell demon. For him, it was just a wave of his hand, but for me, I lost everything in that wave of his hand. My father and my elder brother died in the fire that he casually generated. I know that I can't take revenge on him, but at least by killing his granddaughter, I can inflict the same pain that I felt after losing my father and brother." Saying this, the Chunin wanted to attack Kushina again, in an attempt to kill her completely, but before he could attack, Kushina appeared in front of him and grabbed him with her right hand. Her left hand, which had fallen to the ground, burst into flames and regenerated as her left arm, good as new. Witnessing this, the Chunin's face filled with horror and despair, as even his previous attack proved ineffective against Kushina. "I sympathize with what happened to your father and brother, but if you try to kill me, thinking I am weak and with the motive of causing pain to my grandfather, you are mistaken," Kushina said. As she finished speaking, her left hand transformed into a fire and engulfed the Chunin ninja entirely, burning him to a charred state. His lifeless body fell to the ground. Everyone present was shocked after witnessing how Kushina's left arm regenerated unharmed. The participants of the exam were surprised by how effortlessly Kushina had killed the Chunin ninja, giving him no chance to resist. She defeated him as easily as a Jonin would kill a Genin. Kushina picked up the Heaven Scroll and returned to her place, standing with her team. Observing all of this, Orochimaru breathed a sigh of relief. He also began to understand why the other teammates from the Uzumaki village remained unfazed and wore calm expressions. Similar to the hydration technique of the Hazuki clan, Orochimaru muttered to himself, making the connection. After the brief incident concluded, the Chunin distributed all the scrolls to the respective teams. Once every team received their scrolls, Orochimaru announced the start of the competition. As soon as Orochimaru's words fell, each team began to move into the Forest of Death, prepared to fight for the scrolls and qualify for the second round. Meanwhile, inside the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen received information about the events that took place in the Forest of Death. Nervously, he crushed the pipe he was smoking in his hand. However, upon learning that Kushina was unharmed, he finally felt relieved. Hiruzen glanced at the kneeling Ambu ninja and said, "Bring me the details of that ninja immediately." Receiving the Hokage's orders, the Ambu ninja swiftly left and returned within a minute, providing the details of the mentioned ninja. As Hiruzen read the information, his anger instantly fled up, causing a surge of powerful chakra. He was so furious that he crushed the table in front of him, along with the paper containing the ninja's details. "Danzo, you bastard. What the hell are you trying to do?" he exclaimed in rage. Witnessing Hiruzen's intense anger and feeling the overwhelming pressure emanating from him, the kneeling Ambu ninja began sweating profusely and almost lost their balance, nearly falling to the ground. Hiruzen glanced at the trembling Ambu ninja, easing off his pressure, and then apologized for his sudden outburst. He composed himself and said, "Go and bring Danzo to me immediately." Hiruzen's anger stemmed from the information that the ninja in question had been brought to Konoha as an orphan 10 years ago, and subsequently taken in by Danzo's organization, the Roots. It was clear that Danzo was involved in this, as the ninja couldn't have lost his father and brother as claimed. Finally, Danzo entered the Hokage's office and noticed the state of the room. His eyes narrowed as he asked, "Why did you call me? Hiruzen, is there something you need from me?" Hiruzen remained silent and simply threw the information about the ninja in Danzo's direction. He spoke sternly, "You know very well why I called you, and I won't waste my words explaining it to you. I will tell you one thing." Hiruzen continued in a cold tone, his aura pressing heavily toward Danzo. "If anything were to happen to Kushina in any way, I will kill you first. And if, by any chance, Mito-sama becomes aware of today's incident, I will not defend you in any way." After hearing Hiruzen's words and feeling the killing intent emanating from him, Danzo knew that Hiruzen was serious and would definitely kill him if necessary. In front of Hiruzen, Danzo could only submit. And from today onwards, no ninja from Root will leave the Root base. If I find anyone leaving, I won't hesitate to disband Root. Remember, I am not arresting your Root members just because I don't want Mito-sama to become suspicious of your involvement, said Hiruzen. But, Hiruzen, if my Root ninjas don't leave, many tasks will be halted, said Danzo, attempting to reason with Hiruzen. Shut up. Don't forget, I am the Hokage, shouted Hiruzen. Upon hearing Hiruzen's words, Danzo clenched his fist in anger. However, he knew he couldn't do anything. He turned around and said, "You will regret it." Hiruzen then slammed the door of the Hokage's office and left. At the same time, while Hiruzen and Danzo were arguing, Mitsuo also learned about Kushina being attacked. He wanted to immediately go and question the Hokage about this, but Mito stopped him. She told him that even if they asked why Kushina was attacked, Hiruzen would simply apologize and distance himself from the matter. She believed that Hiruzen was not foolish enough to attack Kushina, so she trusted the explanation given by the Chunin ninja and managed to calm Mitsuo down. Inside the Forest of Death, Kushina and her teammates moved swiftly, racing through the dense foliage. They were heading toward the direction where Kushina sensed the presence of a team carrying the Earth Scroll. Before entering the forest, she had memorized the chakra signatures of the team with the Earth Scroll. Unluckily, she hadn't come across any team with the Earth Scroll for the past hour. But now, finally, she had found the team and was running determinedly in their direction. Finally, with her team, Kushina encountered the other team carrying the Earth Scroll. It turned out to be a team from Konoha, and as soon as they saw Kushina, they were struck with fear, having witnessed her strength. Kushina calmly looked at the Konoha ninjas and said, "Give me the Earth Scroll, and I will let you all go unharmed." The team members looked at each other in confusion, but then their expressions hardened, and they said, "If we admit defeat, how are we worthy to carry the will of fire?" Hearing their words, Kushina shook her head and said, "They are thoroughly brainwashed. No need to hold back, take the scroll as quickly as possible. I'm feeling hungry and want to eat food made by Grandma Mito." After receiving orders from Kushina, both Hiroshi and Sakura immediately attacked the Konoha team. Their fists were covered in flames as they unleashed their attacks. Being just genin, the opposing team couldn't evade Sakura and Hiroshi's onslaught. They fell to the ground, clutching their chests, suffering from burns. The remaining genin, filled with fear, trembled and stood frozen. With a disdainful tone, Sakura said, "Weakling," and used fire pistol. A small fireball, resembling a bullet, passed through the shoulder of the remaining genin, causing them to scream in pain and collapse to the ground. Hiroshi seized the opportunity to take the scroll from the genin, but they refused to give it up, saying, "Even if I die, I'm not going to give you the scroll." Hiroshi responded, "Why bother?" and forcefully held the genin's hand, burning it below the wrist. Overwhelmed by pain, the genin let go of the scroll. Hiroshi picked it up and appeared next to Kushina, declaring, "Scroll obtained." Kushina nodded and left with Sakura and Hiroshi. Just as they departed, a team of monitoring ninjas arrived and witnessed the miserable state of the defeated team. "How cruel," one of them remarked. The team captain intervened, saying, "Stop talking nonsense and help them up. Let's get them treated." The other team members nodded in agreement and left to arrange medical assistance for the defeated team. Just as Kushina and her teammates reached the building, with Minato and his team following closely behind, they entered the central building in the Forest of Death. Kushina and Minato handed over their respective scrolls. At that moment, the monitoring ninja team brought the seriously injured team inside the building. As soon as they entered, the injured genin caught the attention of everyone present, and the medical team rushed over to begin treating their injuries. "Who used such excessive force in the Chunin exams? They will need at least half a year of rest before they can resume their missions," one of the healers exclaimed. Upon hearing this, the genin team looked toward Kushina and her team with resentment. Observing their reaction, it became clear to everyone present what had transpired. After observing their reaction, the kind-hearted Minato couldn't help but ask, "Why? Why did you feel the need to do this? You are clearly very powerful, and there was no necessity to go to such extreme lengths. First of all, I am not from your village, so you have no right to ask me this question. Secondly, as weaklings, they should have the consciousness of being weak. If any weakling starts challenging me, Wouldn't I be wasting my time? They must have fear in their hearts for the strong, and fear never comes from gentleness. This is the first lesson taught by my grandfather, said Kushina, maintaining a stoic expression. No, you are absolutely wrong. Strength should never instill fear in the weak, but rather make them feel secure when they are around. Only through kindness can true peace be achieved, said Minato confidently. Your words may sound lofty and idealistic, but they are nothing more than mere dreams. The same words were once spoken by the first Hokage of your village, but his death proved that peace was only maintained through the fear of his strength. If he hadn't possessed that strength, he wouldn't have been able to achieve peace and establish Konoha, retorted Kushina. Kushina continued, her voice filled with disdain. And you are not even as strong as him, so don't speak so highly. First, become strong and then talk about peace. She then turned towards her teammates and said, let's go, before leaving the building to enjoy the delicious food prepared by her grandmother. Minato stood, looking at Kushina's back, and said, I will prove that only with kindness can peace be achieved. Kushina didn't respond in any way and left the building. Upon her return to the Senju clan compound, she was greeted by a worried Mitsuo. After seeing that Kushina was fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. That night, they celebrated the safety of Kushina and her qualification for the third round of the Chunin exam. Finally, after 2 days, the second round of the exam concluded, and a total of 8 teams qualified. 10 teams could have qualified, but only 8 were able to do so due to various reasons. Now, there were 24 genin left who were eligible to fight in the upcoming battles. After the end of the second round of the exam, Hiruzen gave a speech on the Will of Fire. Listening to it, Kushina yawned, and no one was surprised by her behavior. Hiruzen then announced that there would be preliminaries before the third round of the Chunin exam to eliminate half of the participants who passed the second round. Upon hearing this, many participants became dissatisfied, as they had fought various battles and endured for 2 whole days to qualify for the third round. However, their dissatisfaction was of no use, and the preliminaries continued to be held. The rules were simple. Every genin would fight one-on-one, and whoever won would qualify for the third round. Hyuga Hiyashi vs Uzumaki Kushina, Shikaku Naru vs Uzumaki Sakura, Shinzar Akimichi vs Uzumaki Hiroshi. The matches were announced, and the first match was Kushina's. She stayed in the arena, and Hiyashi Hyuga also remained. The referee announced the start of the match. Hiyashi Hyuga ran towards Kushina and attacked her with his gentle fist. However, Kushina had trained in white hits, so she easily deflected Hiyashi's attacks. The Taijutsu fight between Kushina and Hiyashi continued, with Kushina mostly defending and Hiyashi relentlessly attacking. Then, Kushina began to counterattack Hiyashi with her white hits, and Hiyashi struggled to defend himself. He was quickly overwhelmed by Kushina's strength, and she exclaimed, "Let you taste the power of fire." She snapped her fingers, and fire engulfed Hiyashi. Hiyashi quickly used the 8 trigrams, palm rotation, creating a chakra barrier to defend against Kushina's attack. However, as he completed his jutsu, he was panting slightly. Just then, he saw Kushina snapping her fingers again, and a massive amount of fire engulfed him. Hiyashi once again used the 8 trigrams, palm rotation to defend himself, but this time, he was completely exhausted and barely standing. As Kushina prepared to snap her fingers again, a voice was heard from the stands. Hiyashi gives up. However, Kushina didn't stop and snapped her fingers again, causing a huge fire to engulf Hiyashi. At this point, the referee knew that if he didn't intervene, Hiyashi would definitely die, so he immediately used water style and saved Hiyashi. Hiyashi's father approached and checked on his son. Seeing that Hiyashi was fine, he then looked at Kushina and said, "I said Hiyashi gave up, so why did you attack him?" Kushina replied, "Only when a contestant gives up can it be counted." She then looked at the referee and asked, "Am I right, referee?" Referee nodded in agreement. "See, it was you who gave up, not your son. What if it was your conspiracy to let your son win when I am unprepared?" said Kushina. Everyone was speechless. Who in the world would dare to sneak attack her? After that, Kushina left the center of the arena and went to the stands, where her teammates were. The referee then announced the next match, Nara Shikaku vs Uzumaki Sakura. As soon as the referee said begin, Shikaku immediately used the shadow imitation technique and connected with Sakura's shadow. Sakura stood there as if she had given up, and the shadow connected with her own shadow, causing her to start moving. Sakura imitated Shikaku's moves as he made her take out her kunai. Just as she was about to pierce her own body, Sakura suddenly stopped, and no matter how hard Shikaku tried, he couldn't make Sakura move an inch. Suddenly, at that moment, a yellow chain appeared behind Sakura and pierced through Shikaku's shoulder. Shikaku's shadow imitation technique was lifted, and he was also upset. He said, "You never took me seriously, did you?" Sakura replied, "Isn't that obvious?" and started leaving the arena. Shikaku accepted his defeat, resulting in Sakura's victory. The last match was Hiroshi vs Chimzar Akimichi, and this battle was also one-sided. Using his fire fist and taijutsu, Hiroshi easily defeated Choza. In this way, everyone from the Uzumaki village qualified without any hindrance. Finally, after the prelims, 12 ninjas qualified for the third and final round of the Chunin exam. At that time, Hiruzen came forward and announced, "Congratulations to everyone who qualified for the third round. The third round will be held in 1 week, in the presence of the daimyo of the fire country." Upon receiving this information, Kushina left with her team, as she didn't want to hear any nonsense from Sarutobi Hiruzen. After stepping outside, she noticed the genin team whom they had defeated in the Forest of Death. These genin had hostility in their eyes, and if they went weak, they might have already attacked. However, Kushina disregarded them and left without paying them any mind. After traveling a considerable distance from the Chunin arena, Kushina stopped and looked at Sakura and Hiroshi. She said, "I have a task for both of you. You saw those genin, right? Kill them. The hostility they showed is something I cannot tolerate, so go and eliminate them. But they are just weaklings. Killing them would be meaningless," Sakura replied. "I understand, but my grandfather mentioned that there are forbidden techniques capable of giving even him a headache. These weaklings might seem insignificant, but what if they are using such forbidden techniques, and are willing to sacrifice themselves just to make us pay?" He also admitted that despite his vast knowledge and experience, there might be forbidden techniques he doesn't know about. "So, we must eliminate them. I don't want them alive," Kushina ordered sternly. Upon receiving orders from Kushina, Sakura and Hiroshi immediately set off to fulfill their task. The next day, after waking up, Minato went to the training ground as usual to train with Jiraiya. Upon reaching the training ground, he started doing warm-up exercises before Jiraiya's arrival. Since he was early, there were only a few people who came to train. After an hour, more people started arriving in large numbers, and just as Minato was about to change his training method, he overheard people talking. "Did you see them?" said one person. "Yeah, they were severely burned," said another. "They were fine yesterday, and today they died inexplicably," added another person. "Who told them to offend those red-haired guys?" remarked the first person. Minato, being a very smart person, immediately guessed who they might be talking about. Just as he was about to confirm his guess, Jiraiya approached him. "Minato, it seems you've been training for quite some time, but you also need to understand that mornings are the best time for collecting materials," Jiraiya said with a lewd smile. Minato's face twitched upon hearing Jiraiya's words, but then he remembered and said, "Are they talking about the same genin and members of the Uzumaki clan, whom the genin offended?" Upon hearing Minato's words, the smile vanished from Jiraiya's face, and he sighed. "Yes, what they're saying is correct. All 3 genin were killed last night, and they were burned. Yesterday, when they showed hostility towards members of the Uzumaki clan, I had a feeling something like this might happen. But obviously, Konoha can't spare its manpower to protect 3 genin, and the next morning they were found dead in their house. It's almost confirmed that they were killed by members of the Uzumaki clan. Why? I don't understand why they would care about hostility from some insignificant genin," said Minato, clenching his fists. Jiraiya looked at the sky and replied, "This shows leadership qualities in that girl. Remember, Minato, for a leader, it's important to prioritize the safety of their people. Even though their hostility was minor, imagine a scenario where they encounter civilians from Yuzashiogakuka and decide to vent their frustration on them. It's necessary to eliminate anyone who harbors hostility towards you or your village. So take this as a lesson, especially since you aspire to become a Hokage, right?" Minato nodded in response to Jiraiya's words. Jiraiya then said, "Because of your question, my mood worsened. Come, let's go to the bathhouse to collect materials." Saying that, he dragged Minato along with him. "No, I don't want to gather materials, sensei," said Minato. In the morning, inside the Senju clan compound, Kushina was training in her courtyard when Mitsuo approached her and asked, "Did you kill those genin?" Kushina halted her training and looked at Mitsuo, replying, "No, why would I do it when Sakura and Hiroshi are there? I ordered them to kill those genin." You did a good job," remarked Mitsuo. "Yeah, small grandpa. I know that much," responded Kushina. Tsunade, who was standing at the gate, had a complex expression. She knew Kushina and considered her like a little sister. Living with her, she didn't know how to respond to the news of Kushina killing a member of her own village. "Sister Tsunade, it seems you're facing some kind of problem," observed Kushina, looking at Tsunade's face. "You don't have to worry too much. We will leave the Konoha village after 1 week." Upon hearing her words, Tsunade didn't say anything but left quietly. After Tsunade departed, Mitsuo said, "Although no one would dare to attack you, there could be some more mad people like that Chunin. So be careful, okay?" "Yeah, I also know that much. I'm not that big of a fool," replied Kushina. After their conversation, Mitsuo left. Danzo also debated with Hiruzen about this matter, and urged immediate expulsion of the Yuzashiogakuka team from Konoha. However, Hiruzen refused, stating that there was no proper evidence to justify their expulsion. If Danzo had evidence, he was instructed to present it, and Hiruzen himself would confront the Yuzashiogaku team. Faced with no response, Danzo had to leave immediately. 3 days before the Chunin exams, inside the root base, Danzo was reviewing the intelligence sent by the root members, as he usually did. Suddenly, everything became quiet, as if no one was present at the base. He became alert, ready for an attack. Despite his vigilance, he couldn't sense anything, and his heart was filled with panic. He wondered if Mito had attacked his root base after learning about Kushina's situation. Fearing the unknown, he said, "Whoever you are, come out. I know you're here." At that moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard from the front, and Danzo was prepared to attack if necessary. However, when he saw the person's face and felt the overwhelming pressure, his weapon fell to the ground. "It's impossible. How could you be alive? I saw your dead body. You were killed by the first Hokage in the battle at the Valley of the End," exclaimed Danzo with horror on his face as he stepped back. The man paid no attention to Danzo's fear and proceeded to the main seat, sitting on it with arrogance. "You ask me this when you have researched everything about the Uchiha with Tobirama. You must also know how I survived," said the man with arrogance. "So, you used Izanagi during your fight with the first Hokage," replied Danzo, regaining his composure. The man remained silent, not saying anything. Danzo took a deep breath and asked, "What do you want from me, Uchiha Madara? Why have you returned to Konoha? Do you plan to take the position of Hokage after the first Hokage's death? The seat of Hokage means nothing to me. If Hashirama were alive, I might have tried to fight him and claim the Hokage seat. But now that he is gone, no one is my opponent, and I have bigger things to accomplish," declared Madara. "Okay? I didn't come here to talk nonsense with you. I came here to give you a chance to take revenge on Kagutsuchi, who took your arm," said Madara Uchiha. "I can understand that I have a motive for revenge, but I don't think you have any motive. So why target him? What would you gain from it?" asked Danzo. "Although he didn't offend me in any way, he can become a nuisance to my future plans. So he must be killed before that," explained Madara. "What is your plan?" inquired Danzo. As soon as Danzo's words fell, Madara appeared in front of him and lifted him by the neck, resembling a chicken. He spoke with intensity. "I am suppressing my impulse to kill you, as you are an apprentice of that Tobirama. So, don't test my patience. You don't have to know too much. Just follow what I say, or else you will be dead before you can even react." "I understand," Danzo choked out, struggling to speak. His voice strained as he continued, "And I will not repeat it further." Madara threw Danzo aside like a dead dog. Cough cough, Danzo coughed heavily. After calming down, he looked at Madara with fear. Madara was a cage-level powerhouse, and Danzo couldn't even resist him. "So, what do I have to do?" asked Danzo. "He loves his granddaughter very much, right? Lure her out," suggested Madara. "But she is good at sensing, so it would be hard." "I can't promise anything," replied Danzo. "You don't have to worry. I will send you a man who can do it perfectly," assured Madara. And that concludes, What If I Reincarnated as Yamamoto Genryusai in Naruto and Saved the Uzumaki clan? The movie. The series continues in part 8. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the page, and hit that naughty bell to be updated on my latest videos, share with your friends, and leave your comments down below. I will see you in the next part. I'm the Sensei signing out.